This feudal lord is highly scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401 Mass and Plain Trade Federation. The nobility is noble. So this is the true meaning of nobility. Not only the nobles, but also some civilians were thinking. In many places, people who were watching the live broadcast also had different expressions. Some nobles were extremely angry and killed all the servants who were watching with them on the spot and ordered that nothing of Azan was allowed to appear in the entire territory. And many civilians also began to think. At this time, there was more thinking. Lin Ke's thinking is very easy. Simply put, rights and obligations are equal. Why is it that wealth can never last for more than 3 generations in the previous life? Because all kinds of laws and regulations are stipulated that only those who really make money and become officials by their own ability can be among the first class. You can use your parents' platform, but you can't rely on it. You can't make a living from it or even be proud of it in this life, because land, power, military, etc. are all concentrated in the nobles, and all resources are used to support the nobles. So there are many drunkards who become heirs of the nobility, passed down from generation to generation. Those originally powerful and noble nobles have become some wastes who only know how to bully men and women, how to be rotten, and how to lie flat. There is no determination to make progress, no perseverance, no courage after knowing shame. So, everyone has discovered the problem. No wonder, no wonder. I said, why do I feel that being loyal to the current master is not as exciting as the previous master? Outside a store in the abyss, a professional muttered to himself and was glared at by an older professional next to him. Don't say these words. There was a noble not far from them, and he was the kind of powerful noble with a territory. However, the noble did not say much and continued to watch the live broadcast quietly. If the older professional did not know that he was a noble, it is estimated that this noble could be completely hidden in the crowd. In the distance, in another layer of the abyss, some people were already unhappy and fighting. First, they quarreled with each other because of Lin Ke's views, and no one could convince anyone. And finally they fought directly. No matter who wins or loses, no one will accept anyone. Such scenes are staged in many places because this is a conflict of ideas, and usually such conflicts of ideas will be resolved through violence. At this time in the stadium, Lin Ke was still giving a speech. So, do you have any questions? After Lin Ke finished speaking, no one answered for a long time. Some people felt that they dared not. After all, Lin Ke's own power and backing were there. Some people felt that what Lin Ke said was very reasonable, and Lin Ke was also qualified to say these words. As Lin Ke himself said, the lava swamp war was supported by Lin Ke alone. The phrase leading the charge really surprised many people, and Lin Ke, seeing that no one asked, continued to speak. Our noble system needs to be reformed. Reform from top to bottom. I don't want to be like the corrupt Holy Life Alliance one day, where the chiefs of the country are so brave, but the Lord succumbs to the Sun God. Holy Life Alliance. Rad Lord. Sun God. The audience was noisy. Duke Lin Ke, after just ridiculing the nobles of the Gira Kingdom, actually pointed his sword at the Holy Life Alliance! Exclamation mark. However, the more surprising thing is yet to come. Our changes must also be real and effective. We can't be like some parliaments, which say fairness and justice on the surface, but in fact the 5 members are imitating the 5 holy lives, and are still oppressive from top to bottom. The ocean of stars and waves. The far west countries. The primal storm sea. The abyss of death singing. Lin Ke said them one by one. Thanks to the 10 years after the lava swamp war, when he couldn't fight, he read a lot of books in those 10 years, and had a rich knowledge in his head. At this time, he talked freely, with a kind of demeanor of talking and laughing about the sky. The key is that what Lin Ke said is true. The actual problems. He almost said out the most acute, most difficult to solve, and most controversial problems of each force and each region. How audacious. Bear heart and leopard courage. How dare you do that? A mere duke. Not to mention the Duke. Even Wu Mian's brother, the Grand Duke of the Mountain, would not dare to be so arrogant. Only the Emperor Wu Mian who dominated the world can do this. But those smart people thought about it. Damn, that's right. Behind Lin Ke is the Emperor Wu Mian. Could it be that many of the words today were not what Lin Ke wanted to say, but were actually instructed by the Emperor Wu Mian? Thinking of Lin Ke's criticism of the various shortcomings of the entire nation in his words. Thinking of the Emperor Wu Mian's previous organization of the entire nation to hold a noble council. Thinking of another main plane that is about to come. All the smart people were shocked. Could it be Emperor Wu Mian is going to make a series of big moves? At this time, Lin Ke's voice still did not stop. What we are about to face is likely to be a main plane that is much stronger than us. There may be people as strong as Emperor Wu Mian, or even stronger. And there are more than one. And we in Nasan are still fighting in a melee, fighting on our own. Lin Ke's voice gradually became heavy, and the leader blood in the soul space was shaking slightly. The audience also felt a pressure. There was only one person like Emperor Wu Mian, which made them breathless. What if there were several? Haha, you know that Emperor Wu Mian is relatively reasonable. So, we must unite. Let's become stronger together. The elephant people of the Holy Life Alliance can't afford to eat, so we can supply them to the great wilderness city. The mineral veins that the Gira Kingdom lacks can also be purchased from the Everfrizz Council. At the same time, the fine weapons forged by our Gira Kingdom can also be sold to various forces in the far west countries. In simple terms, you give me people, you give me resources, and I use technology to process them and sell them back to you. The people here don't know this routine, they just think it's very profitable. Just like those small countries in the previous life, resources were sold cheaply, or even sold at a low price, and then the forces with technology processed these resources, and sold them back at 10 times or 100 times the price. Isn't it beautiful? Originally, it was impossible. The fastest way for various forces to grow is still plunder, but who let Lin Ke have a father-in-law? Finally, Lin Ke released his killer move. I suggest that we form the Nasan Plain Trade Federation. All forces in our Nasan can join the association and trade, and buy and sell in it. In order to form a broken window effect, Lin Ke once again threw out a good news for the Gira Kingdom. In order to respect the contribution of Emperor Wu Mian in fighting against the world outside Nasan, I suggest that the association be headed by Emperor Wu Mian to take charge of the overall situation. At the same time, the price of goods from the Kingdom of Gira can be slightly increased. The same goes for Dahuang City. Chapter 402 Lin Ke Kanako Monetary System. Broken window effect. When you want to tear down a window, if you directly say you want to tear down a window, you will most likely be stopped by the people in the house. But when you say you want to tear down the house, and then you are stopped by someone, and say you want to tear down the window, this is easier to be accepted. Lin Ke's ultimate goal is not to really let Wu Mian be the president of an association, but to form an association similar to the 5 hegemons in the previous life, and to have a place for deliberation and voting. After that, Lin Ke's real goal is to achieve financial hegemony by establishing a monetary system in trade. This is the case with the Bretton Woods system in the previous life, which laid the foundation for the status of the US dollar. Using as an currency as the common trading currency of the Nasan Plain Trade Federation is Lin Ke's goal. However, what is unexpected is that when Lin Ke said that Emperor Wu Mian would be the president and Emperor Wu Mian would be the main one, no one spoke. Of course, this is normal. Everyone here knows that Emperor Wu Mian is present. Who would touch his tiger's whiskers? Opportunity. Without further ado, Lin Ke spoke immediately. In this association, we can buy and sell our own things, whether they are usually not sold to the public or those that are precious. In this case, if a water-based professional gets a rare fire-based item, he can exchange it without considering the difference caused by barter. Lin Ke gave a brief introduction, mainly to popularize knowledge to some uneducated nobles and civilians. The transaction currency is a currency of Her Majesty the Goddess of Finance, Chinelko, that is, as an coin. Believe me, no one understands fairness and justice better than Her Majesty Chinelko. She is a god who became a god through finance. The dagger is revealed. Lin Ke's ultimate goal is here. However, this kind of thing that would be fought over in the previous life, in the end, has a mediocre response here. Or, No one cares. Looking at the quiet venue, Lin Ke felt helpless. He knew that no one actually cared about the economy. They cared more about strength, and even if they cared, few people discovered the true strength of the economy. The real internal driving force of the economy is that labor exchanges value, value generates consumption, and consumption drives subjective initiative. When a person knows that, as long as he has enough money, he can be promoted to a legend, he will work hard to create his own value, make money, and promote himself to a legend. And this will also bring about the specialization of social division of labor. Goddess of finance? Oh my god, how long has it been since a god was born? The one just now. Andrew's leg. Is she the wife of the Duke of Lava? TSK, marrying a goddess and a follower. Sure enough, everyone's focus is not on economics, finance, and trade, but on other aspects. Lin Ke smiled slightly. The Bretton Woods system in the previous life created the prosperity of the financial empire. If you don't pay attention to it, it's better to negotiate directly later and then sign a law contract. As for the trading center, I will set it up in the big shopping mall. By then, everyone can come to trade. No limit on the intelligent life of the plane. No limit on the race. As long as you have something you want to trade, you can trade it. Lin Ke pointed in the direction outside the stadium. That direction is one of the wonders of the great wasteland city, the big shopping mall. Everyone immediately talked about it, and some people with a keen sense of smell sensed huge business opportunities in it. Of course, Lin Ke will not let the people of various forces lack motivation later. In order to stimulate subjective initiative, Lin Ke will also introduce various measures and rules and regulations to attract people to trade. In the process of this trade, the inventory of treasures in Dahuang City will be enriched, and the treasury of Dahuang City will be enriched. However, at this time, in a private room, the goddess of wealth had a golden light in her eyes. It was not a brilliant light, but a golden light, which was different. Currency. The goddess of wealth whispered. He occupied a private room alone, and he was the only one in it. Originally, with his stinginess, he was reluctant to buy a private room ticket, but since he found here that various consumption in Dahuang City could be improved, he let himself go. The goddess of wealth has a first-class ability to make money. As a result, a huge amount of gold coins poured into the foreign exchange department of Dahuang City. Then these gold coins turned into Azan coins, slightly touched the wallet of the goddess of wealth, and handed them all over to the market of Dahuang City. Eat, drink, play, and have fun. As a female deity, the goddess of wealth showed an amazing talent in consumption. At the same time, in the auction just now, he also auctioned 30% of the equity of a large plane in the joint investment of the plane development rights. That is a continuous income, which can be distributed as dividends. As a result, the goddess of wealth's consumption desire has expanded even more. The problem is that the current Nasan Trade Federation. There is a problem. Although the goddess of wealth does not understand it very well, her keenness in wealth tells her that there is definitely a problem with this federation. And the problem lies in the currency. Do I really have to go to that little guy to ask for advice? The goddess of wealth was a little hesitant, but thinking that Kanako, as her former high priest, became a god under Lin Ke's teaching, then if she went, there should be a breakthrough, right? An Nasan Trade Federation can make profits for itself in full view of the public, and live broadcast throughout Nasan. It must be said that Lin Ke is really amazing. However, this federation also made the goddess of wealth smell a business opportunity. So, after thinking about it, he asked a question. Excuse me, what does it take to join the Nasan Trade Federation? The voice of the goddess of wealth was changed by herself into a male voice, which sounded gentle and magnetic. Lin Ke heard and said, for the specific measures, I will hold a discussion meeting later. The specific initiating members can be the first batch of members of the Federation, with certain privileges, but there are also some requirements, such as the number of races and the number of strong people. After all, the stronger the person, the more treasures they can get. In simple terms, for example, the organization in the previous life was 5 overlords plus a group of younger brothers, among which there were various dividends and small organizations. Nasan is different from the previous life, but the difference is not big. For example, forces with a master have more privileges than forces without a master. For example, some forces, regions, and ethnic groups, if they have powerful master professionals, can become the initial members and enjoy certain rights. If there are only legendary or powerful people below the legendary level, they can also have other rights and form smaller trade organizations. Lin Ke introduced slowly, and his voice spread throughout the Nasan continent through the live broadcast stone. Some knowledgeable people, or even some people who don't know anything, all have one idea after watching Lin Ke's live broadcast. That is, Nasang, things are going to change. Chapter 403 University. Break through the aristocratic class. Of course, let alone the change of the sky. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. Most civilians don't think about the Nasan Trade Federation at all. They only think about where to work tomorrow, to make money to support their families. However, intelligent creatures will have a desire for knowledge, which is determined by the entropy increase and disorder of the universe. Just like in the previous life, the old man at the entrance of the village and the old man downstairs were very concerned about national affairs. There are also many people in Nasan who are not nobles or professionals, but have been paying attention to the content of this grand event. They are actually very interested in what Lin Ke said. In addition, what Lin Ke said is actually very easy to understand, so it caused quite a stir, which is similar to the previous noble statement, which caused a response. Just after Lin Ke finished talking about the general idea of the Trade Federation, and answered some questions of the nobles who were very interested, he finally talked about the important link. Education. And it is higher education. Our education is not enough. Lin Ke's words were loud and clear. With the foreshadowing of the previous few times, when Lin Ke spoke, many viewers listened attentively, and some even took notes. Especially the nobles. Nobles like the Marquis of Giant Sword and the Marquis of Ice are fine. They are all nobles with territories and real power, and they have a good relationship with Lin Ke, and they are not afraid of any changes and turmoil. But many nobles are just nobles, not lords, and they are afraid that their current status and privileges will be affected. However, whether they are afraid or not, or they don't care, they are all very interested in what Lin Ke said. Because what Lin Ke said before can trigger their thinking and change, and they can also gain a strong new life in this change. And what Lin Ke put at the end must also be a blockbuster. If you count it up, most of our education is inclined towards the nobles, or in other words, the nobles are enjoying educational resources, and more people can't get educational resources at all. Lin Ke calculated the probability problem for everyone. The number of nobles is hundreds of millions or even billions of the number of civilians, which is incredible. Even if the probability of civilians becoming high-level professionals is only 1 in 10 million, perhaps the number of people who can successfully become high-level professionals is far more than the number of nobles who become high-level professionals. This is just a simple probability, and there is no mathematical logic that is too profound and difficult to think of. So when Lin Ke did some calculations, the whole audience was excited. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Stupid, he's a duke at the age of 20, and you don't know which girl you're looking at the age of 20. The old Duke of Lava is really very wise. Duke Lin Ke is still young. Hehe, I can do it. The audience in the field calculated, and found this phenomenon. In a territory, even the most fertile nobles can only give birth to 1,000 or 10,000 children, right? But what about the people in the territory? For example, Asan, the total number of nobles and noble heirs does not exceed 150, but the number of people in the territory is more than several million. You know, during the Lava Swamp War, Garros led hundreds of thousands of troops to fight in the secondary plane, otherwise he would not have been able to fight against the moon goddess later. Calculated in this way, the power of the people in the Gila kingdom is actually very huge. In the box, Emperor Wumian was also slightly stunned. So many? The 5-colored dragon mother was a little surprised. According to the probabilities Link said, even if a normal professional has only a 1 in a billion chance of becoming a legend, the number is incredible. The moon goddess frowned slightly, but resources? No, what we lack is never resources. Emperor Wumian narrowed his eyes. What we lack is people who can open up planes, not planes. Nasan has reached the era of interstellar navigation, which is completely different from the previous life. If the navigation technology of the previous life has also been developed, there will be many planets in the interstellar space that can be developed, and then there will be great development. As for NASA, there are countless planes in the star world, and these planes are almost equivalent to planets. Emperor Wumian has been tired of collecting these planes, and he is too lazy to develop them with thousands of them in his hands. He even gave them to nobles as an incentive. But nobles are not so easy to come by, and there are only a few powerful nobles. Now it seems that what Link said makes sense. As long as you change your inner threshold, that is, the idea that there is actually not much difference between nobles and subjects. Many nobles may find it difficult to accept. After all, in their eyes, commoners have always been the representatives of lowliness. But for Wumian, what is wrong with accepting this idea? Seeing more and living longer, naturally tolerance and acceptance will come up. Lin Ke really surprises me. Emperor Wumian was delighted. He didn't care whether he was a commoner or not, he just wanted the human race to stand firm. And, is there a difference between nobles and commoners? Hundreds of years ago, thousands of years, tens of thousands of years ago, which noble's ancestor was not a slave life of the Holy Life Alliance? It's very good. Mrs. Gardner nodded with a smile. However, what surprised everyone was still to come. Some people know that I founded basic education, that is, elementary school and middle school. In Dahuang, every child must go to elementary school and study at the age of 6, and receive blood enlightenment in school. Lin Ke's voice continued, but the audience was so shocked that they couldn't speak. In the past, some of them knew that commoners in Dahuang City could also read, which was enough to make many people envious. You know, only the flower-growing families in the previous life had compulsory education for all, and in many other places and worlds, education was exclusive to the elite class. It was particularly serious in Nasam. For example, Lin Ke, who had been able to receive teachings from Aofu since childhood, far surpassed many people in his understanding of all aspects of professionals. Most nobles can afford to hire enlightenment teachers, but many nobles actually let their followers or even teach themselves. As for whether the teaching is good or not, I don't know. But for civilians, teaching, there is no such thing. At most, they teach how to farm and herd cattle, how to avoid being punished or favored by nobles, and how to survive. And now, everyone knows. In Dahuang City, everyone has to study from top to bottom. I heard that it is still required to study, that is, compulsory education. Andrew's legs, too happy. Countless civilians were a little dizzy. In their opinion, having to go to school sounds just like you must live a better life. What kind of great sage and kind man is the Duke of Lava? Lin Ke continued to speak, ignoring the quiet meeting place. After basic education, it is university education. Chapter 404, Building a University? Wishful thinking. Basic education? What is the basic education in Dahuang City? Simply put, Lin Ke wants the children to know who they are, where they come from, where they will go, and how they will go. Life, death, and between life and death. You can be born in a farmer's family, but your ambition can be to be a doctor. You can be born in an upper class family in the city hall, but your ambition can be to sell sweet potatoes. It's alright. But no matter what your ideal is, you need to know why. Why do you want to be an official? Is it to make money? For power? For vanity? For your parents? Or to give back to the folks who helped you and make them rich? Do you want to farm for fun? Is it for a sullen rage? Is it for the 2 acres of land at home? Or because you like and love it? This is what Lin Ke asked the teachers to teach. In addition, children should also be taught what this world is, how it exists, what kind of strong people, and what kind of weak people there are, etc. At the same time, they need to exercise their thinking from subjects such as mathematics, and learn culture from subjects such as Chinese, history, and geography. No matter what the actual Dahuang City is like, the scene described in Lin Ke's words has shocked everyone. Especially, university. When children know what they want to do in the future and what they love, they will study in the university. At that time, a large number of students who have experienced enlightenment education and primary education will switch from the 2 professions of scholar and knight to the profession they want to do. Driven by love, nature and interest, a large number of professionals will be born. These professionals are no longer forced by life, or become professionals by accident, but they really love their profession, and enter this profession. In this case, NASM's high-level professionals will appear in a blowout state. It is undeniable that some people will not choose the career they love for various reasons. But what Lin Ke has to do is to build a good platform and then ensure the timeliness of policies and systems, improve relevant laws and regulations at any time, and improve the inspection and investigation system, which can greatly stimulate the vitality of society. So, I will open a university in Dahuang City. It's called Dahuang Comprehensive University, and I will hire strong people from all walks of life to teach there, so as to continuously create talents for our NASM. In addition, there are many ways to enter Dahuang University. You can pass it through written examinations and interviews, or you can apply for 2 pure interviews and recruit people aged 18 to 200 to enter the university. By then, our university will have various star level, legendary, and even dominant teachers teaching here. There will also be countless professional teachers teaching. The students recruited come from the intelligent life of all planes of the heavens and stars, including NASM. A steady stream of talents will help our NASM become a stronger, better, and richer main plane. Our NASM can also help more planes achieve plane transitions. The rich will lead the poor. Lin Ke's passionate voice spread throughout the audience with the loudspeaker, and even spread throughout NASM. To be honest, his voice is not the kind that is particularly good sounding, like Sophie's voice that can capture people's hearts just by sound. However, the content of his words was tantamount to placing a terrifying forbidden spell on the mind of every intelligent life in NASM. Too great. Many people didn't know what to say. No matter whether they were nobles or commoners, they didn't know what to say. If Lin Ke was a commoner, the nobles would still think that Lin Ke was a whimsical person, a toad wanting to eat swan meat. However, as a noble, Lin Ke was helping everyone except the nobles. No, in fact, Lin Ke was helping everyone including the nobles. There were also distinctions among nobles. According to Lin Ke, in the future, even the son of a viscount, if he worked hard, could have access to the education that only an earl, or even a marquis or a duke could have access to. The duke, Lin Ke, actually had access to the highest level of education. It is conceivable that the children of Lin Ke and Rika could be taught directly by the Wumian emperor. Lin Ke and Chinaka were not much different. You have to know that Chinaka was a god. In this situation, Lin Ke still considered the vast majority of the lower classes. Mr. Lin Ke, you are really a great god. At the venue, some civilians squeezed into the auditorium with 5 or 6 people in a room, and they were moved to tears. Not only these people, but even the Wumian emperor was very moved. Lin Ke had told him this, but he didn't say so much, because Lin Ke was too busy recently, busy planning the university, busy planning the Great Wasteland City, etc. And now it seems that compared with Lin Ke, the Wumian emperor only felt that he was like the red dragons, black dragons and other giant dragons raised by the Gila royal family, except for eating and sleeping, and could only grow meat all day long. He is a bit of a failure as a king. However, when the lowest and highest levels were shocked, someone spoke up. Mr. Duke Lin Ke, I don't think it's appropriate. A deep male voice sounded, and it was a false voice at first glance. Oh. What's wrong? Lin Ke knew that the biggest resistance had come. Compared with his previous speech, the university was shaking the foundation of the nobility. Only the people at the bottom, the petty nobles at the bottom, and the people of Emperor Wumian at the top, think that Lin Ke's measures are good. The bottom benefited from it, and Emperor Wumian and his people benefited from it, because they were broad-minded, and focused on the overall situation. Of course, they all benefited. In fact, the only ones who were harmed were some middle-level and middle-high-level nobles. Their original education and opportunities were not much behind the top. In this case, the more opportunities and education for the lower class will squeeze their living space and their interests. Therefore, they must be the ones who will resist the most. Excuse me, where is your school built? Where do the teachers come from? As far as I know, there are not so many powerful teachers in your great desert city. Why should I let my children go to your school to study? The deep voice spoke. At the same time, before Lin Ke spoke, someone else spoke. Yes. Why do we have to pay tuition? Many of our nobles have their own family enlightenment teachers. Oh, of course, some country viscounts are said to be unable to afford their own enlightenment teachers. The country viscount mentioned by this person is obviously Lin Ke. The Azan family didn't have an enlightenment teacher. If Garros hadn't accidentally met AOF, Lin Ke would have hired the first level enlightenment teacher from Parrot City. Our family shed blood for the kingdom of Gila, and my ancestors fought for the kingdom of Gila. In the end, my children are expected to sit in the same class with the untouchables. My family is so glorious. The nobles spoke one by one. Whether openly or secretly, they were all saying one thing. That is, building a university? Wishful thinking. If you build a university, you are insulting the glory of our nobles. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, Andrew shows up. Big deal. The venue now looked very excited. Dear audience, I think there must be a reason why Master Lin Ke made this choice. Those nobles violated their interests, and they are resisting. As a reporter, Bing Bing should have made an objective and impartial evaluation and broadcast live. But she couldn't help it, and even called Lin Ke Master instead of Sir. She even clenched her fists, and wanted to cheer for Lin Ke. In various places, countless people also saw the scene that Lin Ke was facing at this time. They forgot that the microphone can only be turned on actively, and they all thought that Lin Ke was now suffering from a storm. Lin Ke, what you are doing is denying the merits and great deeds of our ancestors, and also the great deeds of your own ancestor Azan. You betrayed our nobles. You betrayed your class. Our glory should not be shared with those thieves, robbers, hooligans and other low-class people. Our innate nobility has been like this since ancient times. Judge him. Judge Lin Ke. He is not worthy of being a duke. Not worthy of being a noble. Various voices rang out in the venue, and some people even showed their real names directly. I'm the Earl of Green Silk. I think His Excellency the Duke of Lava is betraying the glory of our Gila Kingdom. I filed an appeal, and requested the Gila Kingdom Council to judge him. A voice rang out. This is the Earl of Green Silk. Since the Great Wasteland City discovered the green silkworm, and began to raise silkworms and real silk, the business of the Earl of Green Silk in the north has been greatly affected. When the Earl of Green Silk stood up, many of the voices that had just clamored showed their true faces directly. I'm the Marquis of Iron Ring. My family has been guarding the bloody road for tens of thousands of years. The glory of my Iron Ring family cannot be desecrated. A majestic and old-fashioned voice sounded. The Marquis of Iron Ring had met Lin Ke once before, but it seemed that he attached great importance to the gap between nobles and civilians. However, there were also voices supporting Lin Ke. I'm the Marquis of Ice, who rose from obscurity and fought for the kingdom of Gila. I support the decision of the Duke of Lava. The voice of the Marquis of Ice was full of arrogance, but this arrogance also contained a strong admiration for Lin Ke. The achievements and glory of the Duke of Lava cannot be denied. Does anyone want to question the wisdom of Duke Lin Ke? With your family, that doesn't even have a legend? The words of the Marquis of Giant Sword were full of sarcasm. You probably can't even compare to my giant sword. The Kingpin family stands by the Azan family. Who said Lin Ke is not good? Ask me Black Claw if I agree. The Akali family. Lin Ke has not worked for nothing over the years. There are also many nobles, big and small, who support Lin Ke. They knew that Lin Ke would never intentionally harm anyone's interests when doing things. For example, in Fasa, he also tried his best to make everyone win-win. However, compared with other people, it was far worse. Because in addition to the kingdom of Gila, many places are actually the same. For example, the Holy Life race of the Holy Life Alliance and the 5 major families of the Councillors of the Everfrizz Council are not willing to see the situation in the future where Dahuang City is the only one. After all, they are not stupid. All the talents of Naseng graduated from Dahuang University. Isn't that Lin Ke's favor? Especially those civilian strongmen. Although there is Wumian in the kingdom of Gila now, this does not prevent these forces from wanting to become bigger and stronger. The difference now is that, although Woomian is strong, the Kingdom of Gila cannot be compared with the Holy Life Alliance and the Ocean in terms of foundation. Not to mention, whether these forces are united, it is indeed difficult to compare them in general. But if the Kingdom of Gila takes such measures, wouldn't it be a direct surge in the number of strong people? Under the condition of a surge in the number of strong people, the development of the plane will also accelerate. By then, the Kingdom of Gila will have many strong people and treasures. Then what's the point of playing? Just bow down to Gila. My tiger tribe doesn't like to come to the human world to study. Someone from the Holy Life Alliance expressed his opinion. The climate here is hot, and we snow foxes don't like it. Some tribes in the Everfrizz Council also expressed their disapproval. But these are secondary. The most important thing is the reaction of the Kingdom of Gila. When the interests of these nobles were not violated, they all thought that Lin Ke was good. But when Lin Ke might violate their interests, or even not violate their interests, but their superior status could not be guaranteed, they began to attack Lin Ke one by one. The sky was boiling. At this time, Lin Ke, standing in the center of the stadium, suffered attacks from all sides, as if he was so weak, pitiful, and helpless. The voices supporting him were drowned out by the accusations of those great nobles. Lin Ke stood calmly in place, lightly scanning the accusations from the venue. Fortunately, everyone only dared to speak, and did not make much movement. After all, Emperor Woomian was there, and if anyone made any movement, it would be directly regarded as a provocation by Emperor Woomian. In the box of Emperor Woomian, the 5-colored dragon mother poked Woomian. "Aren't you going to help him?" She saw that Emperor Woomian was staring at the venue with wide eyes at this time, and he was obviously a little angry. "Lin Ke didn't let me come forward. He said he wanted to win those people by himself." Emperor Woomian clenched his fists, and it seemed that he wanted to punch those nobles, but he still held back. "We just need to support him afterwards. He can come forward when Lin Ke encounters legendary and dominant dangers, but he can't come forward when there is a quarrel." So several people didn't say anything. Just watching, Woomian suddenly said, "When these things are over, Madam Gardener goes home. You two come with me to find those masters to fight." Emperor Woomian was unhappy and urgently needed someone to vent. "Okay." The 5-colored dragon mother nodded, but she was actually not very happy either. "Yeah." The moon goddess nodded gently, her eyes still calm. Madam Gardener was still as kind as before, and smiled and replied softly, "Okay, I'll go back to guard the house." While the three of them were chatting, the scene changed again. Lin Ke slowly raised his arm, ready to answer one by one, and debate with the crowd. However, at this moment, the whole place was silent. It was not the kind of silence that suddenly quieted down, but the silence that seemed to stop even time and space. The law of space, the law of time, the law of destiny, the law of life. In just a moment, Lin Ke felt that several supreme laws appeared in the venue. Those voices seemed to be suppressed in an instant. The law of sound, the law of water, the law of fire. All kinds of laws were almost rudely and unreasonably excluded. The venue was silent. Everyone, including the intelligent life at the end of the live broadcast, held their breath. Yes, all intelligent life. Because a person appeared in the venue, an old man. This old man was like a ghost, with no visible legs, empty lower limbs, floating in the air, and only about 1.2 meters tall. The old man looked very majestic, but when he looked at Lin Ke, he blinked his eyes, as if to say, "Hey, kid, see you again." Chapter 406, The Opening of the Fearless Tower. Resources are tilted. In the silence of the whole audience, only Lin Ke was a little surprised. This old man, what the hell? "I'm Andrew." The old man spoke softly, although his voice was not loud, but everyone could hear it. "Andrew, Andrew, Andrew." The originally silent venue was once again plunged into a roar of landslides and cracks. "Andrew. Andrew's leg. Is it that Andrew? Andrew's leg. This is the sage Andrew. The great supreme Andrew." The whole audience cried out like thunder, and the sound waves like a tsunami hit the inner wall and space of the steel stadium, and actually activated the protective shield system. Whether it is the Kingdom of Gila, the Holy Life Alliance or the Everfrizz Council, whether it is the Far West countries, the Ocean of Stars and Waves or other oceans, whether it is the elemental forest or the great lava swamp. No matter what race, age, or gender of intelligent life, they all subconsciously held their breath. That's Andrew, the great sage who created the professional system. The current prosperity of NASA and its status above thousands of secondary planes are almost all brought by the professional system. The professional system was brought by Andrew. No one knows why Andrew can create such a powerful system. Some people think that Andrew has special talents, and some people think that Andrew is the only bloodline in the world. But no matter what, the professional system was proposed by him. He also founded the Fearless Tower, which recruited all kinds of intelligent life without race restrictions to explore the truth. The famous truth researcher is a profession that came from the Fearless Tower, and the materialist school and the idealist school also came from it. The Fearless Tower, like a sword of Damocles, monitors NASA to prevent accidents and loopholes. To the outside, the Fearless Tower exudes endless terrifying aura, telling countless powerful people in the heavens and stars that this is Andrew's territory. Andrew's reputation and achievements have surpassed his own race. The intelligent life in forces such as the Holy Life Alliance and the Everfrizz Council also respects him, and will not hate or despise him, because he is a human. However, Andrew probably hasn't appeared in front of people for many years. The last time he appeared was when the previous King Gilla had just passed away, and Wu Mian was still young, so Andrew appeared. And now, Andrew has appeared again. Although Lin Ke had long guessed that this old man was Andrew, he was still stunned for a second when Andrew really admitted it. It was just like Confucius, Sakyamuni, Laozi, Jesus and other people in the previous life appeared in front of people. Andrew is almost equivalent to the collection of those people, and his lifespan is almost infinite. However, before he spoke, Andrew spoke. "Little guy, do you want to be my disciple? Accepting disciples?" Exclamation mark. Andrew wants to accept disciples? Exclamation mark. No one has ever heard of Andrew accepting disciples. Andrew actually wants to accept disciples? Exclamation mark. This. Lin Ke raised his eyebrows and said subconsciously, "This is not good. My teacher is AOF." It's not that Lin Ke only agrees with the one master one disciple system, but Lin Ke said it subconsciously. After saying it, Lin Ke immediately changed his words. "Of course, besides teacher AOF, I agree to worship the sage as my teacher." He didn't mind at all. Whether it was the Palace Guardian bracelet or the Talzik Annihilation Staff, they were all given to him by Andrew. If Andrew hadn't helped him once in the Lava Swamp War, it would have been difficult for him to survive so many crises later. There is no master-disciple in name, but there is a master-disciple relationship in reality. There is no such thing as a one master one disciple system in NASA. So, while speaking, Lin Ke hammered his chest to show respect. Andrew nodded slightly and smiled. "Yes, you are my first disciple." Andrew really accepted a disciple. Andrew's legs accepted a disciple. Andrew accepted a disciple. Moon Goddess, you shocked me and my mother for 100 years. Oh no, maybe I will continue to be shocked for the next 200 years. By the way, one of you said Andrew's legs, and the other said Moon Goddess. Aren't these two people on the field? Not only them, the Sun God, Ice Crystal Giant Deer, etc. are probably here too, but I don't know where they are hiding. The audience suddenly started talking, full of envy and jealousy towards Lin Ke. At this moment, Andrew turned around and looked around the steel stadium. He paused at the box where the Sleepless Emperor was, and some other boxes, and then said, "Fearless Tower, from the day when the Great Wilderness University was established, 10 places will be opened every year. The candidates for the places will be linked to the university, and will be decided by my disciples." Andrew's voice once again caused an uproar. "The places for the Fearless Tower are actually open!" Exclamation mark. In previous years, the Fearless Tower was not open. It is said that the Fearless Tower unilaterally selected intelligent life from NASA, or even from the other 2 continents and several oceans to enter. But no matter who is chosen, they can make rapid progress after entering the Fearless Tower for a period of time, and the bottleneck is like it does not exist. The first place in the previous Noble Council was just the reward of entering the Fearless Tower, which made several major forces crazy. because, even if it is a master, he can continue to break through in the Fearless Tower. It is said that the Fearless Tower is built in the void. The 3 continents of Nassing, Feljima, and Qs, and the 3 oceans of the Ocean of Stars and Waves, the Primal Storm Sea, and the Abyss of Death Singing, form a planet. Outside this planet is the plane crystal wall. Outside the plane crystal wall is a void, and outside the void is the turbulence of the stars in the sky. It is said that in the void outside the plane crystal wall, the Fearless Tower stands. In other words, the Fearless Tower is like a ring surrounding the entire planet. It is like a tower and a Mobius strip, representing endless truth. And now, there are actually 10 places every year. Hiss in the box. Emperor Wumian took a breath and said subconsciously, I don't think Lin Ke has Catman blood. Ouch. Legend has it that there are many cat people in the Fearless Tower. Before Emperor Wumian finished speaking, he was hit on the head by an unknown force. With his strength, he should have sensed it a long time ago, but because he said the wrong thing, he let Andrew hit him. However, even Emperor Wumian was surprised. Lin Ke was given such good treatment. Emperor Wumian supported Lin Ke. Perhaps Lin Ke could gain the fear that dared not speak out. But with the Fearless Tower and Andrew, that means respect and endless desire and motivation. Wumian is not that good to his own son. He stroked his chin and muttered to himself, why don't we ask that kid Garros? Speaking of which, Furlong is not a catman either. Ouch. Can't I just stop talking? Chapter 477 Subjects. Quota selection method. At the meeting, Lin Ke saw Andrew's hands behind his back slightly shaking, and he didn't know what happened. But he could still feel Andrew's love and support for him. Teacher Andrew, let me take over next. Lin Ke smiled. Andrew didn't turn around after hearing this, but his voice rang in Lin Ke's mind. Are you sure? Lin Ke replied, sure. Okay. Andrew turned around, looked at Lin Ke with a smile, nodded slightly, took out a mottled stone flake, and handed it to Lin Ke. When you're done, crush the stone flake. After saying this, Andrew's body disappeared into the air, accompanied by the dissipation of a large group of laws. The scene was still silent, and Lin Ke took this opportunity to say, for many questions, I think I can answer them one by one. At this time, no one spoke. In the past, there was only the Wumian Emperor, and now there is also the ancient god Andrew. What the hell? In the past, he was just Wumian's son-in-law, but now he has become Andrew's apprentice. In terms of seniority, the Wumian Emperor and the 5-colored dragon mother can only call Lin Ke's grandfather. Therefore, no one dared to speak now. In fact, many people's eyes were full of enthusiasm. There are 10 quotas for the Fearless Tower every year. And these precious quotas are all reserved by Lin Ke. Fight for it. You must fight for the quota. In addition to the sleepless emperor and the sun god who don't care, even the powerful people like the Duke of the Mountains are a little concerned about this quota. However, what Lin Ke is doing now makes those powerful people a little anxious. There are actually many legends and gods on the field now. They just auctioned a group of slaves and wanted to stay just to watch the excitement. Who knew that Andrew appeared later, and the quota for the Fearless Tower was leaked, and they were all anxious. That's the Fearless Tower. Who wants to listen to your introduction to the university? Regarding the question about the Earl of Greensilk, the university is located outside the Great Wasteland City, and there are also equivalent planes. Well, my teacher Andrew told me that he can give me 8 giant secondary planes, which will be used as branch campuses. Regarding the issue of teaching staff, I believe that not every noble can hire a legendary master as a teacher. The teachers we hire, except for the subject of logic, need to be above level 15. Everyone is welcome to apply. As for what Marquis Sultan said, that his ancestors shed blood and sweat for the kingdom, I believe that his ancestors have received the due rewards, otherwise how did he get his hereditary earldom? I think what he has to do is not to lie on his merits and look down on the heroes, but to make greater achievements than Marquis Sultanite to prove that he is qualified to continue to inherit the title of Marquis. This is also the consistent thinking of a great wasteland city. No matter how powerful the parents are, we will consider the children regardless of their family background. Facts have proved that even my own sister, Zio Naomi, is not as good as Zio Pando, who was raised by a single parent family and a peasant woman. In cultural learning, Xiao Nuomi skipped school every day, liked to explore, and didn't like to study. Uncle Mark, who invented the Mark tree, had an apprentice named Xiao Panduo who had the opportunity to go to school and showed amazing learning ability and great potential. But who cares about these messes? Countless strong men cursed in their hearts. They were afraid that there would be surveillance in the auditorium. Although they had already tested it several times with their own unique methods, they were still cautious and listened to Lin Ke with a smile, nodding from time to time, as if thinking about something. Of course, there were also a few nobles who wanted to refute Lin Ke. After all, they were neither high nor low, and could not reach the level of the Fearless Tower. Although they knew how powerful Andrew was, they felt that they were fighting for their noble birthright, and were not afraid of anyone. However, when they wanted to speak, they realized that their voices could not be heard at all. They were muted by the Magma Dragon intelligence system of the Iron Stadium. This was prepared for them. Lin Ke needed a group of people to burst out, expose the enemy, and then break them one by one. So at the beginning, they spoke because Lin Ke wanted them to speak, and told them to speak. And now, even if Andrew didn't appear, they would be silenced, and couldn't make any sound. After all, Lin Ke was speaking. In the future, there will be no chance to capture so many powerful people from various forces, and there will be no more opportunities to attract so many legends and gods. In order to prevent Nasan from changing too much in the future, so that those powerful people cannot accept some emerging theories and ideas, which will lead to the shattering of values, world outlook and life outlook along with the soul space, that is, headshot, Lin Ke can only try his best to make them accept some ideas and science. Otherwise, when the time comes, the powerful people in Nasan who travel in the star world of the heavens, all live in seclusion and Nasan will be headshot by various theories and experiments in the university one by one. Then Nasan's high-end combat power will not be seriously damaged. The old batch of powerful people are gone, and the new batch of powerful people have not grown up yet. What will Nasan rely on to resist the approaching main plane? So, regarding the quota for the Fearless Tower, at least for the quota for the next 2 years, I have the following simple thresholds and requirements. Only when these thresholds and requirements are met, will I proceed to the next consideration. Lin Ke smiled slightly, and finally said what the powerful people wanted to hear. The quota for the Fearless Tower. The powerful people were either holding their breath in their own boxes, or hiding in the civilian audience seats pretending to talk to people, but no matter what, their attention was on Lin Ke's words. First, the basic subjects must pass the assessment. The basic subjects include Chinese, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, history, and morality. I will consider granting quotas only if these 7 subjects are passed, and the scores are above 90. 7 basic subjects. The audience who were nervous just now immediately became stunned. What are these? What undead? In the box, the Emperor Wumian looks stunned. What are these? This time, the 5-colored dragon mother couldn't say anything, because she didn't understand those words very well. Lin Ke was speaking the common language of Nasan, but why didn't they understand it? Math and the like. They understood what it meant. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Very simple. But what about language, physics, chemistry, biology, and morality? Is language a language in writing? Or language in culture? Or language in literature? Or something else? There are several others. I don't understand. Do we need to learn these things? Morality? Whoever is the master has noble morality. Whoever has the bigger fist has greater morality. Isn't it always like this? The audience was a little confused. The Duke of Lava doesn't want to give them a place. Chapter 408 3 Thresholds. Boiling. But if you don't want to give them a place, just say it directly. The audience thought Lin Ke was deliberately making things difficult for them, but the next moment, Lin Ke continued to explain. These subjects are the courses that the first people of Dahuang have to learn in elementary school, or in other words, they are the courses that all schools in my territory have to learn, from the enlightenment stage to the general education stage. In other words, as long as you reach the excellent level of high school graduation in the general education stage, you have stepped over this first threshold. What? Exclamation mark. Isn't the high school graduation in Dahuang City what an 18-year-old adult intelligent life has to do? Exclamation mark. This is a coming of age ceremony of Lin Ke's people. The audience understands it very well. After all, many places have their own special coming of age ceremonies, such as fighting a tiger with bare hands, shaving hair, etc., which are all special coming of age ceremonies. It's just that the coming of age ceremony in Dahuang City is just doing questions and taking exams. The first threshold for the quota of the Fearless Tower is actually the coming of age ceremony of a mere child. Exclamation mark. It's simply an insult to their IQ. A group of strong men couldn't sit still. If the first threshold is so simple, wouldn't it add a lot of competitors for them? But the next moment, Lin Ke talked about the second threshold. Maybe many people think it's simple, but in fact, let's talk about the second threshold. The second threshold must have requirements for your wisdom or strength. 3 requirements: legends, gods and above. Examine moral strength, behavioral strength and contribution strength. That is, after becoming a legend, do you have enough moral standards? Do you have enough actions, or make enough contributions to Nasan and the kingdom of Gila? Because I don't want some selfish people to enter the Fearless Tower. I want Nasan to become more and more prosperous. Lin Ke explained. The audience nodded when they heard it. It makes sense. Of course, those legends who would kill wantonly and never contribute to Nasan were not happy. In their view, aren't the untouchables born for them? They can kill and give life, and can arbitrarily control the lives of untouchables like controlling ants. Lin Ke was too lazy to argue with those people. If he couldn't control the laws, otherwise, these selfish strong men bred by Nasan would not be able to use the power of the laws one by one. After all, it's okay for the weak, as long as they can stay alive in Nasan. The strong, if they can't do that, they should help the world, but at least they should be self-sufficient, or not influence, dominate or destroy others. This is what Lin Ke brought, the kindness and responsibility from the great nation in his previous life. Moreover, only when Nasan becomes more and more prosperous, the intelligent life living in it can also rise with the tide. It's just a simple win-win principle, but many people are short-sighted and can't see through it. As for the strong below the legendary level, in the second threshold, in addition to the above aspects, they will also be examined for their wisdom, potential, progress, innovation, and creativity, etc. Lin Ke's Nasan common language is actually quite good, so the new words he created can quickly make everyone understand the meaning. As for the degree of wisdom, I will use various disciplines of natural science to measure it. The specific measurement methods I call them university physics and advanced mathematics. Even if you are immortal, if you meet these thresholds, you can enjoy a place. Other indicators also have their own evaluation methods. The big physics and advanced mathematics prepared by Lin Ke are not only the university content of his previous life, but also include various cutting-edge research and theories before he crossed over, as well as various difficult problems, unsolved mysteries and the like. For example, if a mortal can really solve the 8 major mathematical problems such as the 4-color conjecture without the slightest blessing of professional power, then his wisdom is estimated to be possible to become the second Andrew of this era. Perhaps that person will be the opportunity for Lin Ke to open the mortal era, or the era of all living things after Andrew opens the professional era. After saying these 2 items, Lin Ke finally said the third item. For the third item, please allow me to be a little willful. The third requirement is that you need to contribute to Dahuang City or satisfy me. If you meet the third item, you can relax the first 2 requirements a little. This item is mainly for Lin Ke to select some people who really contribute. For example, some model workers, some scientific and technological personnel who have made great contributions, etc. For example, some people, such as Geros and Tower, Zio Naomi, etc., always have to travel, right? Going to the Fearless Tower is equivalent to traveling in space. Is that so? I wonder if Lord Lin Ke likes hot girls who are about 5,000 years older than him. You can pull it off, or I'll go. I satisfied countless people on Pink Street back then, and I can definitely satisfy Lord Lin Ke. That's enough, don't you know Lord John? That's Lord Lin Ke's butler. Lord Lin Ke likes men, just like me. In an ordinary priced auditorium space, 7 or 8 people squeezed in, making a lot of noise. It seems that these people are all characters who hang out in Pink Street for many years, so they are unrestrained in discussing. Such conversations appeared in many audience seats at the same time. After all, Lin Ke's satisfying me is really too imaginative. If the third condition is met, even the first two conditions can be weakened. What a great temptation. Of course, the things that can satisfy me are mostly advanced and surprising research, shocking and world-changing inventions, or works that shake the soul and spirit and thought. These things may satisfy me, rather than other messy things. In order to prevent the direction from being distorted, Lin Ke also briefly introduced his satisfaction, otherwise he suspected that someone must have misinterpreted his meaning. He is a gentleman. After saying the last request, everyone went from quiet to boiling again. These conditions. Too easy. The sleepless emperor frowned and whispered. Very simple. The five-colored dragon mother nodded. Too kind. The moon goddess looked disdainful. Haha. The gardener's wife smiled. They didn't think that Lin Ke's conditions were difficult, but too simple. That's the Fearless Tower. According to the thinking of Emperor Wumian and his people, if they want to enter the Fearless Tower, it would be best to exchange a quota for a large amount of resources, such as a large plane that has been developed, 7 or 8 legendary strongmen as research materials, or other equivalent things, rather than some assessment of people. Frankly speaking, I should stop Lin Ke, Emperor Wumian said, and then shook his head, but I believe in him. As soon as these words came out, the three of the five-colored dragon mother nodded. Lin Ke has never done anything to disappoint them. Even the moon goddess recognizes Lin Ke's ability. Therefore, when Lin Ke said this, he must have foreseen something. No matter what, his approach will eventually benefit Dahuang City. That's enough. Chapter 409 Headshot. Legend falls. The whole place was still boiling. Few people considered as much as the Emperor Wumian and his group, such as whether the value of the Fearless Tower quota was equivalent to the 3 thresholds. They only considered how to get these quotas after the event. Whether they knew about the Fearless Tower or not, they all knew that the Fearless Tower quota was extremely precious, as it allowed a legendary figure like Andrew to appear, and there were only 10 quotas. At least some new legends knew that they might not be able to buy a quota, even if they sold themselves. After all, countless planes are discovered and opened up every year, and many legends can be caught in those planes. However, some legends were too impatient. They came to participate in this event this time for the blood of Lin Ke's captives, or some other treasures. They originally planned to buy something and leave, but they were attracted by the Fearless Tower. If they could enter the Fearless Tower, why would they wander around the stars in the heavens and try their luck? No one knows how many floors the Fearless Tower has. They only know that room 0, or room 1, is Andrew's residence. Each of the other floors is as wide as the tower and the plane, so it is called the Fearless Tower. That place has many resources, and is easier to sense the lore. It is a treasure land that many powerful people flock to. There are also many scholars who conduct research and experiments there. There are resources from the entire nation and even the other 2 main planes. It can be said that it is a place that scholars like AOF dream of. In contrast, some people who originally had urgent matters in the star realm of the heavens, such as opening up the plane halfway, or other urgent matters, suddenly felt that those urgent matters were not important. That's the Fearless Tower. Fearless Tower. They were looking forward to it, just wanting Lin Ke to say more about the content of the 3 threshold assessment requirements. Lin Ke did not disappoint everyone. A strong man tried the call button, and found that his voice was actually transmitted. Respected Lord Lava, what do physics and chemistry mean? And what does mathematics test? Is it those arithmetic? This strong man is a legend, and has been traveling in the stars, seeking breakthroughs. This time, he saw the hope of a breakthrough, that is, the Fearless Tower. So, he has been trying to communicate with Lin Ke. Well, I will show you. Laplace, prepare the analytical geometry, solid geometry and equation operations for the 3rd grade of junior high school. Granny's essay, prepare the periodic table of element. I think it's time to appear in the world. Lin Ke said in the microphone, and the big screen that was originally showing some scenery immediately changed, revealing a pair of white hands as white as ice crystals. This is Laplace's hand. Laplace's blood from the Marquis of Ice has been highlighted, and his whole person has become very fair and white, like an eye self. After Lin Ke's order, Laplace could only think of the questions now. But as a 15th level mathematician, he could easily write some junior high school questions. Of course, this is not the junior high school of Lin Ke's previous life, but the level of the 5th or 6th grade in the previous life. Of course, in order to form a gradient of difficulty, Laplace specially set the questions from easy to difficult. Laplace's hands quickly wrote on the paper, and wrote down 3 questions. Chickens and rabbits in the same cage. Parabola and solid geometry proof. Just 3 questions. The tiny black paper and white words feel so pale and powerless. However, these 3 questions without any power made the audience look different. Andrew's leg. I don't understand. Don't understand? I have solved the first question. 18 chickens and 3 rabbits. I think there are 12 chickens and 4 rabbits. This is actually a question for teenagers to do, isn't NASA developing so fast now? I have only been out for 500 years. These audiences looked at the questions on the screen and felt that their IQ was insulted. Why does this kind of question feel simple but difficult? However, these 3 questions did not stay for too long, and the next content was another one. An old woman with wrinkled skin and hunched back appeared on the screen. It was Granny's essay. Granny's essay had a weird old age look on her face, and her eyes were red, as if she had just cried. She held a piece of paper in her arms, on which were drawn square grids, and in the grids were some nascent common language. Hey, Granny will show you what the world is like today. Granny's essay smiled and waved her hand gently, and the star-level periodic table in her hand floated up, radiating pictures from it. This is a moving picture. A drop of water. A leaf. A piece of meat. When everyone was puzzled, the picture quickly expanded forward. Whether it was a drop of water, a leaf or a piece of meat, after expanding, they were all extremely conspicuous colors, such as the red color of the meat. But when it expanded to a certain extent, everyone's eyes were shocked. They saw it. When the microscopic world of matter is presented to us, we will find that molecules are the basic substances that constitute the world at a certain level, and below this, we also found atoms and electrons. Lin Ke's voice came to explain, many times, the reactions such as rust and acid-base dissolution in our lives are all caused by changes at the atomic and molecular levels. I call this subject chemistry. As for physics, I believe many people know the function of pulleys, which is the category of mechanics. In fact, the materialist school has already studied physics. For example, mechanics, electricity and the like, so it is not particularly shocking. Of course, until Lin Ke talked about some of the essences of physical chemistry and biology, it still caused an uproar. Tissues, cells, molecules, atoms. It turns out that there are so many things to study in the microscopic world. However, with Lin Ke's research, the atmosphere in the venue gradually became weird. In this weirdness, a pure white, almost transparent figure rushed out from a box. Impossible. Impossible. This figure roared violently with a monstrous momentum. Legend. This is a legendary strongman. That's Fisher, the Lord of Morning. He was promoted to a legendary undead 3000 years ago. I heard that he has an undead plane, right? How could he bear to come out? Did he become a master? Isn't he afraid of being suppressed by the sleepless emperor? Although the boxes in the steel stadium have barriers to supply energy, they only prevent the audience from slipping and falling, but they can't stop legends. Lin Ke was not afraid of seeing this legend. He also knew the origin of this legend, so he asked softly, "Your Majesty Fisher, do you have any questions?" Impossible. You, Fisher, the Lord of Morning, roared and pointed at Lin Ke, but before he could finish his words, his entire head suddenly exploded. Bang. Chapter 410 Recruiting Teachers. Hot. As the head of the Lord of Morning Fisher exploded, his body slowly dissipated in mid-air, transforming into extremely dense element of the dead that spread in the air. In the crystal wall system of NASA, the laws of the dead were weeping softly, mourning the death of the legend. The legend has fallen. There were exclamations from the audience. A living legend, a NASA legend, has actually fallen. And it seems that he was shot in the head. That is, He fell because his soul space was broken. An old legend, a king of the undead plane, the dignified Lord of Morning, is gone just like that. The soul space is broken, which means that the Lord of Morning's fundamental cognition has changed. Fundamental cognition change? Hiss. The Lord of Morning is one of the bigwigs of the idealist school. The idealist school is in trouble now. So, the Duke of Lava just said that a legend died? There were many knowledgeable nobles in the audience, and they immediately saw the cause of the Lord of Morning's death. He was not killed by Emperor Wumian, nor was he killed by someone, but his cognition was changed by the knowledge that Lin Ke had just introduced and presented. In the soul space, bloodlines, professions, etc. are actually based on the cognition and integration of information. For example, scholar is integrated by the characteristics of research, recording, and exploration. But one day, when you yourself doubt and deny the basis of the existence of these professions and bloodlines, your soul space will explode. Then the head will explode. Many people don't understand, especially the people on the other side of the live broadcast. But fortunately, Bing Bing has also learned relevant knowledge, so she explained it in front of the camera. So, Lord Lin Ke's subject is correct. And that legendary lord. Let's mourn for 5 seconds. Bing Bing mourned for a moment, and then continued to explain. The legendary lord's cognition has always been wrong. So now he has discovered his mistakes, and discovered that his existence and strength are based on non-existent things. So he is gone. The audience on the other side of the live broadcast was silent. Is it still like this? Forcibly use the method of class to kill an old legendary? You know, Lin Ke was just briefly introducing some things that teenagers and young people learn. This is our education in Dahuang City. Bing Bing began to proudly introduce the excellent education system of Dahuang City, which made the audience stunned. Lin Ke was also a little stunned. He swore to Andrew that he really did nothing. Speaking of a legendary strongman, he couldn't do anything he wanted to do. So, Lin Ke quickly distanced himself from the relationship. It seems that this Lord of Morning is not good at his own cognition. However, this is also the school motto of Dahuang: never think that you have mastered all the truth. Everyone, keep doubts and keep exploring. This is the essence of our development and exploration. Some ordinary people who didn't know the reason suddenly realized it after hearing this. To be honest, they were a little scared when the legendary strongman rushed out at the beginning. After all, he was a legendary strongman who was high above. When the legendary strongman died, they were even more scared to the extreme, because they were afraid that a legendary war would break out here. Fortunately, it didn't happen in the end. It turned out that the legend died because of some change in cognition. So fragile. Yes, it's still a legend. I refresh my cognition every day on Pink Street, and I'm still alive and well. Oh. Refresh what cognition? Fruit. It turns out there are so many kinds of fruit in the world. Hey, take me there when you have time. The audience discussed excitedly. In their eyes, the idea of the world being broken was too far-fetched, and they didn't understand what it meant at all. But the fact that a legend was gone alive is still worth discussing. Ordinary people in the past could not even see a few professionals, let alone legends. In comparison, those professionals were mostly silent. Especially some people who knew about the idealist school. As the helmsman of the idealist school at a certain period, the Lord of Morning could be said to be very powerful. Now, Lin Ke said he was dead alive. This also made them realize that the world has really changed. If they don't follow the trend of the times, learn and accept all kinds of fresh and cutting-edge knowledge, then it is estimated that one day in the future, they will be blasted away like the Lord of Morning who was eliminated by the times. At this time, Lin Ke spoke again. Okay, the episode is over. The dignified Lord of Morning seemed to be ignored by Lin Ke, as if he were a fly. Now, if there are teachers who need to join our Great Wilderness University, you can come down from the audience and register your information. The university will assess and admit you later. As for other information about the school, I will also publish it in the Great Wilderness Monthly Report in the future. After that, rows of staff came out of the staff passage, holding tables, chairs, and benches, and then came to sit in front of Lin Ke and put out their notebooks. Occupation Secretary. Lin Ke wanted to take this opportunity to show the outside world a wave of the teaching staff of the Great Wilderness University. At that time, people in the live broadcast will be able to see the scene of legends and gods coming to sign up. However, the scene was not what Lin Ke imagined. For a while, no one came down from the audience space in the stadium. Just as the Great Sword Marquis and other friends of Lin Ke were preparing to go out, thunder sounded in the sky. Boom boom boom. Lin Ke felt that some of the iron tools on his body were shaking slightly. This familiar breath. I Maofu, I'm here to apply. With the sound of thunder, a figure descended from the sky. This person was tall, with white hair and beard, holding a purple staff about 1.8 meters long in his hand, and the purple magic crystal on the top of the magic staff was spinning. Aofu, the legendary king of electromagnetism. Aofu. Lin Ke widened his eyes, looking at the figure descending in front of him, a little bit unbelievable. Doesn't it take some time for teacher Aofu to wake up? Exclamation mark. Aofu looked at Lin Ke with a smile on his face, just like he looked at Lin Ke when he was 6 years old. His eyes were full of care, love and relief. At this time, the venue seemed to have opened a new chapter because of Aofu's application. The silence just now disappeared in an instant, and one by one, the strong men rushed down like dumplings. I'm the king of waves. Killing is my hands. God of the white flower sea. They burst out their names one by one, rushed down, lined up one by one under the shouts of the staff, and then began to fill out the application form. These masters who have never feared anything, now saw Wu Mian and other masters appearing behind Lin Ke, and they were as obedient as quails. I'm the Dark Knight Blade. What does family background mean? The god of mud is here. I have a marriage, but I change one every day. Can I fill in today's one? I'm the god of rat swarm. May I ask, is the number of children important? Do I have to fill it in? Under the watchful eyes of Emperor Wu Mian, these strong men obediently filled in the information and application forms. Lin Ke was excited to reminisce with Aofu. Chapter 411 Crystal Wall System. Teacher, you are finally back. Lin Ke looked at Aofu and felt that his efforts were not in vain. Little Lin Ke, you have worked hard for the past 3 years. Aofu patted Lin Ke on the shoulder and sighed. In his perception, the 3 years after death were just a moment. But he just learned about what happened before his resurrection, and also learned about Lin Ke's efforts to resurrect him, and his heart was filled with emotion. Aofu, why did you resurrect early? Emperor Wu Mian retracted his gaze from the registered masters, and looked at Aofu. Sir Andrew let me come out early. Aofu nodded to Emperor Wu Mian, and also pounded his chest to the moon goddess. Thank you for the help of Her Majesty the moon goddess. The moon goddess nodded slightly and said nothing. Lin Ke, regarding the quota issue of the university and the fearless tower, you can just follow your own ideas. If you can't solve it, come to me. Wu Mian did not forget to support Lin Ke. Now Wu Mian can be said to fully support Lin Ke. Sometimes Wu Mian couldn't understand or guess what Lin Ke did, but the result surprised him, so he simply supported Lin Ke directly without thinking too much. Moreover, Lin Ke has always been sentimental, which is why he is deeply trusted by Wu Mian. No matter what a person does wrong or what wrong things he does, as long as it is not an irreparable mistake, it can be forgiven. But when a person has bad character, then this person is not worthy of deep friendship. And Lin Ke, whether it is to Garros, Furlong and others, or to the Marquis of the Giant Sword and others, or to Liquor and AOF, is very good. In addition, he is better to his own people. Emperor Wu Mian can still trust such a person. By the way, I will disband the Research Institute of the Kingdom of Gila later. Emperor Wu Mian suddenly spoke. When this was said, everyone was shocked. Disband the Research Institute? Who is not a strong person here? No matter how quietly Emperor Wu Mian said it, it was the same as saying it in everyone's ear. We invest a lot of research funds every year, but the efficiency and methods are not as good as those of universities. Emperor Wu Mian's eyes were bright. He could imagine the outstanding points of universities in scientific research. All the extra funds are given to you, as my investment in you. All the extra funds are given to Lin Ke. The eyes of the strong men became more blazing, and their attitudes towards the staff became more and more kind. You know, many of them have board skills and professions in the institute. And Emperor Wu Mian's funds are not just funds, but also strange things brought back from the stars and secondary planes. Those things are the favorites of these legends. Be a teacher. You must be a teacher. Your Majesty, this is not good. Lin Ke was in public at this time, so it was better to call Wumian Your Majesty. Then what about the materialist school, idealist school, natural school, space school, those researchers? There are many schools in the institute, and the mathematics school was only a small school among them before. There was some expectation in Lin Ke's words. Wumian, well, provide a channel. Lin Ke, okay. Wumian, systems and processes. Lin Ke, use the ones from Dahuang. Wumian, okay. There may be many researchers who are just waiting for death, but there must be people with real talent. After joining the university, you may not necessarily take on teaching work, but you will definitely take on research work. Things like occupations and skills will only be derivative applications of research projects, not major research projects. As for the allocation of funds, it is the same as the current process of applying for funds and allocating funds by various departments in Dahuang City, basically eliminating random applications for funds, mixing funds, embezzlement, and misappropriation of funds. Lin Ke also notes that the research of the institute is now like chicken ribs. A bunch of schools are attacking each other, grabbing resources, and competing viciously. At the beginning, Aofu was also made miserable by the materialist school. When I came to Dahuang University, the project team was the basic unit. The organization on weekdays was at most various colleges and departments, and they would also conduct healthy competition with results as the guide. Lin Ke only hopes that Dahuang will not fall into the vicious cycle of water papers, academic cliques, and academic performance in the previous life. By the way, how do you want to choose the location of your university? Andrew gave you 8 planes, didn't he? Wumian suddenly remembered something and touched his chin. Those 8 planes are pretty good, but there are also some bad-tempered creatures in them. But he looked at Aofu again, but Aofu should be able to handle it. If he can't handle it, you can go find Miwu and the others. Lin Ke, okay. Lin Ke hasn't explored the 8 planes yet, but Andrew mentioned it at the beginning. Fire, water, wind, thunder, earth, light and darkness, undead, forest. These are the very distinctive elemental planes. These 8 planes are all good places to study natural sciences. In addition, Lin Ke will also use one plane as a research pilot and laboratory for humanities. After all, Dahuang University is basically ready. As long as he prepares the venues, he can wait for students to enroll. Of course, there are many problems to be solved on the student side, but when Lin Ke has a group of university teachers, they can discuss and decide together. Wumian was still discussing the problem with Lin Ke at this time. The glass industry can be expanded, and the problems of the trade federation are also simple. I will be the president, and you can focus on trade. By the way, NASA alone is not enough. I will ask Andrew after a while. If it doesn't work, open the plain crystal wall and trade with the other 2 continents. Open the plain crystal wall. Lin Ke was stunned. Is it still possible? Different planes are like different planets, no, or more independent than planets. The plain crystal wall, which carries rules, laws, gods, kingdoms and legendary demi-planes, can also be opened. Won't the 2 planes merge together? Lin Ke was shocked. Yes, the other 2 continents will sooner or later become 2 continents of the Nasan plane. Emperor Wumian smiled indifferently, but the domineering aura revealed was convincing. 2 main planes, becoming one of Nasan. Lin Ke was silent, but thinking of the power of Emperor Wumian, that could suppress thousands of planes, he felt it was normal. If possible, can we wait a while? The current system is not very mature, and Lin Ke doesn't want these fragile new systems to suffer a big impact. Maybe now is not the time to merge. Emperor Wumian pondered for a moment, looked at the sky above his head and said, okay, but you have to be quick. There are still more than 90 years. More than 90 years means that in more than 90 years, another more powerful main plane will be close to Nasan. If 2 main planes are connected, Lin Ke will be very worried. Fortunately, Nasan has Wumian and Andrew. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Grand Duke Deep Blue. The registration process was not as fast as expected. The stadium can accommodate so many people that some people still haven't registered, even after queuing for the third day. Fortunately, everyone here is a professional, and ordinary people have already gone home to rest. However, the waves about the event in Dahuang City are far from over. After all, there are not so many intelligent beings who can afford the live broadcast stone produced in Dahuang City. Many places receive information through newspapers. Of course, some places don't have newspapers, so they can only get information by word of mouth. Lin Ke only appeared a few times in this event, and John actually hosted the auction for most of the time. However, the impact Lin Ke caused far exceeded everyone's imagination. Forget about the wedding blessed by the god of love. Only some love-brained people are envious and blame their husbands, and most other women still live their own lives. What attracted more attention was the ideas, measures, and concepts proposed by Lin Ke. The nobility, the Nasan Trade Federation, and the university. The three thresholds of my own, and subjects such as physics and chemistry. Of course, during these few days, some old antiques exploded their heads in front of their families' younger generations. Some saw the knowledge from physics and chemistry in a kind smile, or in a stern scolding, and then were blasted. The situation in Nasan changed because of one person. After a few days, the location of the university has been selected. Lin chose a place near the coast. The lava swamp is at the junction of three places, the Kingdom of Gila, the Holy Life Alliance and the Ocean of Stars and Waves. At the same time, there is a peninsula in the south, where several small countries and forces live. The tribe where Nix used to live lived in the forest near the peninsula, and traded and communicated with the forces in that place, but was later destroyed. However, Lin Ke had a headache at this time. You said, Grand Duke Deep Blue might be the mastermind behind the scenes? On the lava throne, Lin Ke rubbed his forehead. Yes, young master. John looked serious. It's not just this time that the nobles rebelled. Ms. Black Mountain also found that the war that year was also related to Grand Duke Deep Blue. Grand Duke Deep Blue. He is even older than Emperor Wumian, and is his elder brother. Among the 8 Grand Dukes and other dukes, only a few have blood relations with the Gila royal family, and the Grand Duke of Deep Blue is one of them. According to legend, the strongest of the 8 dukes of the Gila kingdom is the Grand Duke of the Mountains, followed by the Grand Duke of Deep Blue. Moreover, these two were also marked as suspected masters by Ms. Black Mountain. Although on the surface, the Gila kingdom only has 3 masters, Emperor Wumian, the 5-colored dragon mother, and the moon goddess. But everyone knows that there must be hidden power in secret. For example, many people think that the Grand Duke of the Mountains is more than just an ordinary legend. The same is true for the Grand Duke of Deep Blue. Although there was no special investigation, Lin Ke also ordered Ms. Black Mountain to collect information. Lin Ke had always felt that the Grand Duke of Deep Blue might be a bit harsh and cruel. For example, the Deep Blue newspaper is famous for criticism and responsibility, and he treats his descendants the same way, punishing them when they should be punished, and killing them when they should be killed. But Lin Ke didn't expect that such a conservative person would be one of the masterminds behind the scenes. According to the investigation, the Grand Duke of Deep Blue actually had ill will towards Lin Ke a long time ago. Very deep ill will. This even started a long time ago, when Lin Ke was just born. The Grand Duke of Deep Blue used some means to influence the judgment of the moon goddess. The moon goddess believed that only by draining the torrent law contained in Azan's blood again could she help Lady Tide advance. Lady Tide was the child of the 5-colored dragon mother, but the 5-colored dragon mother was afraid that the moon goddess would be lonely. In fact, Lady Tide and the moon goddess were very close. In other words, thanks to the efforts of Emperor Wumian and the 5-colored dragon mother, the atmosphere of the entire royal family was very good. However, the Grand Duke of Deep Blue began to reach out to the south one day. The country in the south was extremely closed, and even the noble council did not participate, and the country was closed. The Grand Duke of Deep Blue secretly reached out to the country on the southern peninsula of the lava swamp to cultivate power. All the tribes that Nix had were captured, and only Nix, a rabbit man, escaped. At that time, there were two deep blue giant tigers chasing. You should know that the deep blue giant tiger is the experimental product of the forces under the command of the deep blue Grand Duke. The deep blue Grand Duke used means to unify the entire place now called the Lava Peninsula. After unification, plus the lava swamp, this is another dukedom. At the same time, after Lady Black Mountain asked Scholard Wilderness to collect information, he found that the Deep Blue Grand Duke had a secret connection with the people of the Holy Life Alliance. Radman. Lin Ke listened to John's report and suddenly raised his hand to stop John from speaking, squinting his eyes. So, teacher off's time. Yes. John looked solemn. I don't know if the Deep Blue Grand Duke has contact with Lady Gardner, but he often has private contact with the 5 princes and the 8 princes, and he also has close contacts with the Radman. At this point, how could Lin Ke not understand? The Deep Blue Grand Duke is the culprit. Even the loan that the Deep Blue Grand Duke once gave to Garros may also be intended to directly encroach on Azan's territory and form a whole territory with the lava swamp and the lava peninsula. At that time, there was also a son of the Grand Duke of Deep Blue who came. At that time, Lin Ke was only 6 years old. Garros was not there either. There were only 2 hostesses, and Tower and Fueling. It seems that the Grand Duke of Deep Blue really wanted to swallow up Azan directly. He hinted at the Moon Goddess and Lady Tide, guided the Grand Prince and the Warcraft Kings of the Lava Swamp, and colluded with the royal family of the Holy Life Alliance. The Grand Duke of Deep Blue had great ambitions. But among them, there was an anomaly. Lin Ke. Not only did he not sell Azan to lose money, but he resisted the attack of the lava swamp when he was 6 years old. Now that I think about it, the Grand Prince and his friends should have noticed something at the time. So at the last moment, the Grand Prince told Lin Ke that he almost discovered the spy of the Gila Kingdom. It seems that the Grand Prince and his friends did not lie. These people are really scheming far. Lin Ke had to admit that he still underestimated the wisdom of Nasang and his friends. Whether it was the Moon Goddess, the Grand Duke of Deep Blue, the Lady Gardner, the Great Prince, or the Lady of Tide, they had all lived for hundreds or thousands of years, and their wisdom was not to be underestimated. There were so many people in a large lava swamp, and they had spent hundreds of years planning. It must be said that they were all very wise and far-sighted. Don't make it public. Destroy all records. Tell Lady Black Mountain to be safe. Chapter 413. The Brando family and the Deep Blue family. Okay, young master. John nodded. He also knew the seriousness of this matter, and then asked again, but young master, the previous vein. Purple fluorescent crystal vein. The largest known purple fluorescent crystal vein comes from 2 places. One is the Dark Feather Marquis of the Gila Kingdom, and the other is the Bandle Tiger tribe of the Holy Life Alliance. However, with the relationship between Lin Ke and the Holy Life Alliance, it is difficult to contact the Bandle Tiger tribe. However, the Dark Feather Marquis of the Gila Kingdom is the grandson of the Deep Blue Grand Duke. The Dark Feather Marquis is not only the grandson of the Deep Blue Grand Duke, but also one of the nobles of the Brando family. In fact, not only the Dark Feather Marquis, the Deep Blue Grand Duke's bloodline has contacts with many families in the Gila Kingdom and even the entire Nasang. Either borrowing like Azan, or marrying like Brando, or a new noble whose bloodline is independent. You know, the bloodline of the Deep Blue Grand Duke's family is very prosperous. Unlike some families, either there are strong people, but the population is declining, or there are a large population, but no strong people. For example, the Marquis of Ice, although strong, only has Laplace as his heir. The Deep Blue family not only has the Grand Duke of Deep Blue, but also more than 100 descendants, and more than 100 descendants of descendants. Even why did Antoine, the eldest daughter of the Brando family, marry Azan, and why did the aunt want to kill him? The more Lin Ke thought about it, the colder he felt. Fortunately, his aunt really fell in love with Garros and really treated him as a junior. Lin Ke exhaled slowly, thought for a moment, and said, the purple fluorescent crystal vein, let's go and trade directly with the Grand Duke of Deep Blue. John thought he had heard it wrong, and looked surprised. Direct trade? Yes, direct trade. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. Just tell Marquis Aniu that we are all family. We often interact. I respect Earl Brando very much. I respect Grand Duke Deep Blue very much, etc. John immediately understood what Lin Ke meant and nodded slowly. Yes. Lin Ke waved his hand. Go. I'm going to find auntie now. He came to the top of the tower, called Zyro Zingayan, and then flew to the big mall. Recently, he has been too busy, and Ahoang City is extremely short of management talents. Lin Ke can only recruit men and pull an tower to help. Arriving at the mount parking platform on the top of the big mall, Lin Ke quickly came to the trading center. There are many people in the trading center. In addition to the staff, most of them are some intelligent beings who come to trade and buy and sell. From the giant beasts of Montend to the hamsters of Risby, everyone was browsing the things they were interested in front of the screen of the photo stone, and then contacted the staff to buy or sell. The essence of the big shopping mall is in this trading center, and Antova was directing everyone to process the transaction data in an orderly manner. Although the disappearance of Feudal had a great impact on her, she did not collapse as a whole, but persisted very strongly. Of course, it is also possible that she was using busyness to numb herself. As soon as Lin Ke walked in, Antova looked up, as if she had sensed it, and looked at Lin Ke. The originally serious and tense face tried to raise the corners of her mouth and smiled. She put down what she was doing, walked over and smiled. What's wrong, Lin Ke? Auntie. Lin Ke looked at the white hair hidden in Antova's black hair, and couldn't help but sighed. Don't work too hard. It's okay. Antova smiled as if she was relaxed, and the corners of her once fair and translucent eyes curved into a few crow's feet, telling the passing of time. Let's go. Let's talk outside? Lin Ke nodded. Came to the old place, the milk tea shop. This milk tea shop is called Lucky Milk Tea Shop. At present, there are more than 100 stores in the Kingdom of Gila, and more than 10 stores in Ahoang City alone. The key is to use healthy ingredients. The ingredients are either milk from the Gila Ranch shorty leaves and sweet flowers grown by the Fernwood Goldeneye Wolf Pack in Ahoang City. The taste is very popular. Lin Ke also likes dairy products. When she came to the store, Antova ordered a cup of lucky flower milk for Lin Ke and a cup of sweet milk for herself. The two sat in the corner. Lin Ke waved her hand to set up an air pressure shield and an optical shield, and then said seriously, Auntie, I found a secret. Antova looked at Lin Ke's appearance and immediately became serious. What? She looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to them, so she continued to ask, do you need to tell me? Or you can discuss it with His Majesty Wumian. In Antova's eyes, Lin Ke has long been a man who stands tall and upright, the pillar of the family. He is also a rising star in the Kingdom of Gila. Even Lin Ke has to take this seriously. As a Viscountess, can she really help Lin Ke? She can spare no effort, but she is afraid that it will affect Lin Ke's big things. Feeling Antao's worry, Lin Ke shook her head and looked directly at Antao. It's related to the Brando family. The Brando family? Antao frowned. The Brando patriarch wants to use you? Antao even thought about his father's personality and behavior, and subconsciously thought that his father wanted to use Lin Ke, so Lin Ke was embarrassed. No, it's about the Deep Blue family and the Brando family. Lin Ke immediately told Antao all of John's findings. Then, he observed Brando's eyes. What? Brando slammed the table. How dare he? I'm his daughter. Lin Ke saw that Brando did not lie and immediately felt relieved and began to comfort Antoine. Maybe Grandpa Brando was just temporarily. This is ridiculous. Antoine became more and more angry. No wonder he used me so much back then. I said how easy it was for me to escape to Azan, and how easy it was for Garros to borrow money from the Grand Duke of Deep Blue. Damn Brando. Antoine gritted her teeth, her eyes full of anger. Lin Ke was shocked. But this is normal. Lin Ke knew that Antoine was actually cultivated by the patriarch of the Brando family as a political bargaining chip since she was a child. When Antoine was very young, her mother was a maid and was not valued, but after the patriarch of the Brando family discovered Antoine's beauty, he began to cultivate her. Unfortunately, Antoine, who was originally a little inferior, became a little arrogant under stress after contacting many nobles and began to eagerly use her noble status to prove herself. It was not until later, when she met Garros and Furlong by accident, that she realized that people could be so happy, simple and blessed. So she decided to run away, and run away with Garros. Later, every time she thought about it, she felt incredible. After all, she was a young woman who had never been enlightened, but she actually escaped from the Rock family, that is, the Brando family. And at the beginning, she wrote a letter to the Brando patriarch, saying that she had a child, Lin Ke, and needed to borrow money to repay the Deep Blue Grand Duke. At that time, the Brando patriarch had no intention of borrowing money at all. Instead, he wanted her to take Lin Ke out and take him to the Brando family. Now that she thinks about it, maybe taking Lin Ke there is like a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth. How despicable. Antova clenched her fists, and her nails were so smooth and beautiful that they almost embedded into the flesh, until Lin Ke stretched out his warm and powerful hand and held Antova's hand. "Auntie, everything is up to me." Lin Ke smiled. Antova was in a trance. Her son has grown up so much. A feeling of relief and fatigue came over her at the same time, and Antowa fainted. Chapter 414 Training Wheel Bicycle. Lin Ke's fantasy mount. Antowa is too tired. Whether it is Lin Ke, Feudal, or Garros, each of them is someone she is worried about. But first Garros had an accident, then Lin Ke had an accident, and now Feudal has also had an accident. As the eldest lady of the Azan family, she cannot fall. When Garros had an accident, she had to protect Feudal and Lin Ke, so she took all the pressure on herself. When Lin Ke was asleep, everything in the family had to be taken care of by Antowa. Fortunately, Garros came back at that time, and the family had a backbone. Then, Lin Ke went to the nobles' council. A mother worries when her son is away from home. When Lin Ke left, she was worried about Antowa and Feudal. Not long ago, Lin Ke told Antowa that Feudal's soul had long gone and disappeared. In the past 10 years, since Lin Ke was born, she has never been really relieved. No matter how hard she tried to numb herself by being busy, she was just struggling to support herself. When Antowa felt that she was far more reliable than Garros, she finally couldn't hold it and fainted. This feeling is called the child has grown up. Lin Ke held Antowa in his arms, turned himself invisible, and then came to the riding platform. Quack. Zyrozingan tilted his head and said to Antowa in confusion twice and asked Lin Ke in the soul space, "What's wrong, brother? My aunt is tired." Lin Ke put Antowa on Zyrozingan's back and patted Zyrozingan's neck. "Take him back to the castle to find my father." Zyrozingan nodded, and a soft and warm wind rose from his back. Zyrozingan has the blood of the phoenix and the storm seagull, and with Lin Ke's teaching, he has a very high level of attainment in thermodynamics. It is still possible to create a gust of wind to protect Antowa. Quack. Zyrozingan nodded to Lin Ke, then carried Antowa and soared into the sky, flying to the Azan castle in the north. Lin Ke went downstairs. There were many things to deal with. For example, the settlement of the elephant people, the settlement of the Abyss Frost Wolf tribe, and so on. It is difficult for these specific intelligent races to live in the city, and they have to open up specific small spaces for them to live in. As a lord, he should pay more attention to them. Both races are very powerful. The human race is a typical tank meat shield, and the Abyss Frost Wolf clan is the more intelligent type of mount. And even if these are put aside, as a friend, Lin Ke should go and take a look and show some concern. When he came to the street downstairs, Lin Ke flipped his hand and took out a bicycle, attracting people around to stop and watch. Bicycle. This is a bicycle. Someone was sharp-eyed and recognized it directly. The bicycle is one of Lin Ke's inventions. The invention of bicycles bid farewell to traditional biological mounts and ushered in a new era of mounts. In the past, mounts were all biological, and the knight plus the mount could achieve the effect of 1 + 1 greater than 3. However, as long as it is a biological, there may be differences. For example, the mount is aging, dying, disabled, or can't keep up with the knight's progress. In this case, those who have a deep affection for the mount will often feel uncomfortable, but those who don't have an affection can't exert the real power of the knight. Now it's good, the bicycle is here. Unlike the bicycles in the previous life, the bicycles Lin Ke made here contain various fantasy elements. The most basic thing is that the speed of a bicycle depends on the rider, not the bicycle itself. Unlike other power-driven vehicles such as horse-drawn carriages, motorcycles, and bicycles, bicycles are driven by the rider's own power. As long as the material of the bicycle can withstand it, it can be ridden at the speed of light. Of course, this is only in theory. The advent of bicycles immediately solved a major problem for the nassauing knights. There is no doubt about it. At the auction a few days ago, one of the items was a bicycle, and it was a batch of products made of fine ore, and each one was a level 5 magic item. Compared with biological mounts, bicycles can not only sustenance emotions and give birth to instrument spirits, but can also be nurtured by the power of knights and grow with knights, just like weapons. Therefore, bicycles were sold out directly. Of course, this is not just bicycles. At least on these bicycles, Lin Ke used the magic pattern technology developed by Phaser to engrave the nassing secret text on the bicycles. For example, in the skill of mechanical mechanics, the first skill position of off is the skill strength amplification. The Great Wilderness Research Institute has also studied several mechanical skills, such as labor saving and doubling strength. Lin Ke selectively engraved on different batches of bicycles, and various types of bicycles were born, such as the flying bird type that focuses on speed, the running bull type that focuses on impact, and the light feather type that focuses on labor saving. And Lin Ke's bicycle is naturally the best. Why haven't I seen this bicycle before? I remember there were only 6 types in the newspaper. Oh my god, I'm a bicycle enthusiast. I swear I haven't seen it either. Is it a limited edition? You don't know? Impossible. Yes, impossible, unless it is a custom made one. Passers-by even had the leisure to stop and watch, pointing and talking. Lin Ke's bicycle is made of purple thunder crystals, and the body is engraved with the secret text of mechanical mechanics, and there are 2 training wheels on the rear wheel. The left training wheel represents optics, and the right training wheel represents atomic physics. The front wheel is electricity, and the rear wheel is thermodynamics, adding to the inherent mechanics. Lin Ke named this new mount physics. He smiled at the people around him, and before everyone could react to who he was, he used his optical skills to hide himself and the bicycle, and then quickly pedaled. Swish. There was no problem of a slow start. If he wanted, Lin Ke could just rely on the thermodynamics of the rear wheel and his own overheating skills to release heat energy, to move forward without pedaling. But now, he chose to exercise his body. So, he used thermodynamics to spray heat in the opposite direction, and then absorbed it through the front wheel, and sprayed it out again, hindering his progress. It also increased the friction between the tire and the ground, making it more difficult for him to pedal. Zzz. At the same time, the front wheel and the entire body began to release lightning, which was absorbed by Lin Ke, stimulating the muscles and even cells of the body. In this sour and refreshing feeling, Lin Ke moved forward at a moderate speed. No one on the road noticed Lin Ke. Under Lin Ke's special optical skills, his presence was reduced. Half an hour later, when he arrived at the Elephant Man community, he was already sweating profusely. After putting away his bicycle and using the superheat to evaporate the sweat, Lin Ke slowly exhaled. It seems that cycling for exercise is also feasible. Lin Ke took 2 breaths and then began to visit and comfort the human race and the Abyss Frost Wolf clan. Chapter 415 Dahuang City Employment and Entrepreneurship Department. The Elephant Man and the Abyss Frost Wolf tribe can be said to be very lucky. At least they met Lin Ke when they encountered problems in the development of their race, and Lin Ke happened to be able to solve their problems. In the eyes of many people in nassauing, the strong are the most important. Like the Elephant Man tribe, they are disliked because they are too greedy and not very smart. In the Holy Life Alliance, there is only one tribe of the Elephant Man tribe, and there is no grass growing in the area of 10,000 miles, and they have eaten it all. Lin Ke originally planned to use hybrid rice, hybrid corn, hybrid rye and other grains to feed them. But now Uncle Mark has invented the Mark tree, which is much more convenient. And the Abyss Frost Wolf tribe, if they lose a blessing of Li Guan Mobi, their life will not be easy. Fortunately, Li Guan Mobi is in the Great Wilderness, and Lin Ke also knows that they have no bad intentions and are very simple. So he also made an exception to let their tribe come in to recuperate. It can also be regarded as expanding the ecosystem of the Great Wilderness City. Now the Great Wilderness City has spaces of all climates and seasons embedded in the community for various intelligent races to live. Lin Ke casually asked about the situation of the two tribes and was relieved after learning that the two tribes were doing well. The Abyss Frost Wolf tribe opened a rental mount company, that is, a taxi company, and they can often be seen on the roadside sticking out their tongues to cool down. The Elephant Man tribe is doing decoration and construction work. They are strong and hardworking. They can work for a long time if they are given a full meal. These two tribes have found their place in the Great Wasteland City and started to live a good, happy and fulfilling life. However, there are still many tribes who can't find a job, or it is difficult to find a job, and they have a hard time. Thinking of this, Lin Ke felt heavy again. I didn't know it before, but now I just feel a lot of pressure. Then let's visit them one by one. Lin Ke shook his head and said to himself, you can always find a way out. Passers-by around who don't know may think that this is a young man who failed to find a job. You have to know that, although the Great Wasteland is good, it is not perfect. It is normal that some problems are emerging, such as many people who have just arrived in the Great Wasteland City, who can't find land to plant, and don't know what to do. They can only work part-time jobs everywhere, or simply become pickpockets and thieves. After thinking about it, Lin Ke had been busy with university work for several days, so he rode his bike to the direction of the city hall. The city hall is much more lively than these residential areas. People come and go here, and each one has a different expression. Some people are anxious and frightened, while others are calm and composed, and even look happy and laugh. They should all be here to handle affairs. Well, there should be a work point here. Lin Ke touched his chin, and his face began to change after thinking about it. Under the dual effects of optical skills and the gecko bracelet, Lin Ke turned into a middle-aged man with a frosted face. Ahem. Lin Ke, who turned into an ordinary old farmer, slowly walked up the stairs of the city hall, and bursts of noise came into his ears. Oh. Andrew's leg. The weather is getting colder and colder. That's right. This is because our Great Wasteland City is in the south, otherwise it would be freezing in the north. Hey, don't tell me. I heard that there are beast disasters everywhere in the Everfrizz court, and a group of refugees came from there. Several old farmers who were queuing were chatting, and they stopped talking when they saw Lin Ke queuing. Brother, what are you doing here? This big brother is quite kind, and his face full of stubble looks very kind. I'm looking for a job. Lin Ke immediately said the reason he just made up. I heard that the city hall can look at jobs. Yes, that's right. This stubble uncle looks very talkative. You came to our Great Wasteland City, which means you are favored by the goddess of luck. Of course, she has fallen a long time ago. Ha ha ha. The stubble uncle and several other people laughed together, and the laughter was extremely contagious. Although I don't know where the joke is, Lin Ke was still infected and laughed a few times. If you want to find a job, you can't just rush in and look randomly like this. There are some rules. After laughing, the bearded uncle began to teach Lin Ke. There are a lot of people in there. If you can't find a job, you can only cause trouble. Several young people just went in. Oh, then what should I do? Lin Ke looked curious, like an honest countryman. You think about what you can do first. If you have special skills and experience, find the door of the Employment and Entrepreneurship department on the right hand side after entering the door. After entering, you can find the corresponding window. If you can't find it, you can only wait for the scrolling information on the big screen, or wait for people to recruit workers. The bearded uncle smiled and said, we are here to recruit workers. Lin Ke nodded. What kind of job are you recruiting for? Speaking of this, the bearded uncle smiled proudly. I'm recruiting a scientific research assistant in the laboratory. Hey, the requirements are not low. As he said, the bearded uncle patted Lin Ke on the shoulder. What did you do before, brother? If I guessed correctly, it was farming, right? Lin Ke nodded frequently. Brother, you guessed it right. Unfortunately, I want to recruit people from the food laboratory, preferably chefs who used to cook for the nobles. The bearded uncle smiled and said, but the Ministry of Agriculture recruits a lot of people. I think your appearance makes you a good farmer. We working people don't have to worry about food and clothing. That's right. Working people are the most glorious. Haha, it's a pity that I'm old. Otherwise I would also like to go farming. Several other people also responded. Hearing the words of the bearded uncle and the pride and happiness on these people's faces, Lin Ke was very satisfied. While talking, the line also lined up to Lin Ke and his team. However, the receptionist at the door made Lin Ke frown. "You can't even write, are you stupid? That's crazy. A pariah dares to say that he knows Lord Mark. Wow, really know him? Big brother, please come in. What are you looking at, pariah? If you look again, I won't help you right." There are 8 or 9 staff members at the door. These staff members are under the management of a small supervisor and are registering the information of visitors and then giving instructions. But one of them is saying some unpleasant words there. Lin Ke frowned. "Oh, don't mind it, brother." The bearded uncle gently leaned close to Lin Ke's ear and whispered, "Legends have face, but these people don't. Lava Duke said that no matter how perfect a city is, there will be darkness and dregs." Did I say that? Lin Ke was a little stunned. At this moment, a man in a suit and leather shoes hurried out of the door of the city hall with a serious look. The young supervisor who was originally speaking bent down instantly and walked forward with a flattering face. "Hello, leader." "Yes." The man nodded slightly. His eyes were dull, and he obviously didn't take the young supervisor seriously. He shouted to the people queuing outside, urgently recruiting 5 research assistants. The scope of occupations includes flower and grass care, soil survey, multi-tool farming. Chapter 416, King of Inventions. Those who have the above experience, come to Tovaya to get the application form. The man hurried back to the city hall. Tovaya was the young supervisor. After the recruiter left, the young supervisor returned to his previous expression. "Did you hear that? Those who have experience in these 8 types of work, come and sign up quickly." 8. Aren't there 13? A farmer counted on his fingers. Flower and grass care, farming. Okay, don't call. The young supervisor waved his hand impatiently. "The others have already been signed up. Don't worry about it." "Someone signed up!" Exclamation mark. The farmer who had just questioned was a little puzzled, but there was no one just now. "You still want to call, right?" The young supervisor glanced over and took a look at the application, filled out by the farmer, on which was written the Nasan common language crookedly. "Can you write?" "Sorry, farming is no longer needed." After making a judgment, the young supervisor threw the application form into the trash can. "You can go." The farmer's eyes widened. "Why? I just escaped from the Everfrizz court. I need a job to support my family. It's none of my business. Get out of here." The young supervisor looked nonchalant, and his tone was provocative. "What? You want to challenge the methods of professional police? Then I'll shout. How can you do this?" The farmer's face flushed immediately. "The Great Wasteland City mentioned in the newspaper is not like this." "Oh." The young supervisor's eyes were cold and grim. "You said that the Great Wasteland City is not good." The farmer's eyes dodged immediately, and he was frightened, and took a few steps back. Several people around him also looked unhappy, but they were afraid of the young supervisor's power, and did not dare to move. "Get out of here." The young supervisor waved his hand gently, and the farmer clenched his fist and turned away. Looking at the farmer's clenched fist, the young supervisor's eyes flashed with murderous intent. At this moment, Lin Ke moved. "Don't go." The bearded uncle was hunched over at this time, to avoid being too conspicuous and being taken out on. When he saw Lin Ke walking over, he wanted to hold Lin Ke back, but he failed. No matter in which world or which society, the lower class has their own way of dealing with the world. They also know how to seek benefits and avoid harm. Lin Ke walked over with a calm look in his eyes. The young supervisor saw Lin Ke and raised his eyebrows. "Who are you?" "I want to sign up." Lin Ke's eyes became calmer. "I used to take care of flowers and plants and farm. I used to be a gardener in the manor of Counter Curly's daughter." "Counter Curly?" The young supervisor's eyes lit up, but the farmer just now had already walked away. The bearded uncle was also surprised by Lin Ke's background. These days, it is generally difficult for those who work under the nobles to get out, because they are all assets of the nobles. But Lin Ke's friends are different. Friends like Erlaka, Marquis of Giant Sword, Marquis of Ice, Earl Kingquin, and Earl Blackclaw never restrict the flow of their own personnel. Some people with strong hearts are the same. They believe that when their subjects want to escape because others live too well, It must be that they are not doing well enough. Although this kind of words is too biased, it is also their belief. Just like the belief that Emperor Wumian has publicly stated, after being inspired by some words of Lin Ke, if others are stronger than me, it must be that I'm not doing well enough. You can't blame others for improving too fast, right? There is a saying in the previous life that it is better to discredit others than to improve yourself. Oh no, it's the other way around. At this time, some whispering voices began to appear at the door of the city hall. Please fill out the application form quickly. After Lin Ke stated his identity, the little supervisor showed a sunny smile at this time. Since you choose to come to the great wilderness, we are a family. Lin Ke nodded slightly. The palace guard bracelet changed slightly. His appearance slowly changed a little, and his skin became more delicate. After filling out the form casually, he was welcomed in by the little supervisor. Seeing this, the bearded uncle outside couldn't help but shook his head and whispered, I told him so much. It turns out he is a noble son. Lin Ke paused for a moment, then entered the lobby of a city hall, and was led by a staff member to one of the windows, which had the 4 characters King of Inventions written on it. The city hall is very large, with many large departments, such as the Ministry of Agriculture. There are also small departments like the Employment and Entrepreneurship Department. The King of Inventions project is in the Employment and Entrepreneurship Department. This is one of the projects that Lin Ke had ordered before, mainly focusing on the improvement and production of applied science. 10 Kings of Inventions will be selected every year to commend their outstanding performance and inventions. Wait here. The staff asked Lin Ke to wait in a waiting room and then went out. After a while, the workers came in one by one, and when everyone was there, the man in a suit and leather shoes came in. Lin Ke didn't know this man. After all, he was not known to everyone in the city hall. This time you are mainly helping our inventor King Elson to invent 100,000 coins per day. The man spoke confidently, and immediately there were gasps in the waiting room. 100,000 coins per day. Normal work. The minimum is 10,000 coins per day. Many places do not exceed 20, and the highest is only more than 30,000 coins. 1,000 coins are very valuable. And now, there are 100 coins a day. But, the man changed his tone, and took out a few divine power contracts from his arms. Everyone must sign a contract, a confidentiality contract. Lin Ke sensed it slightly, but it was the divine power of the goddess of finance. Kanako? If you are willing, sign your name and follow me. If you don't want to, just go out. The man smiled. Lin Ke picked up the contract and looked at it. The rule on it was that everything about the inventor King Elson must be kept confidential, otherwise he would suffocate to death. Of course, Lin Ke couldn't sign it, otherwise he couldn't violate it until he was not as high as Kanako. But he has optical skills and a gecko bracelet. He used his optical skills to hide himself, and then quickly created a gecko bracelet puppet to replace him, and signed the divine power contract. Most people signed, but there were 2 people who did not sign. Okay, let me tell you about the content. What you have to do is to invent. The man started to explain before the 2 people left. Invention? Someone was puzzled. Yes, of course, the invented things must be named after Elson. If Elson wins the title of Invention King of the Year, everyone will get a reward. The man smiled. Wait a moment, both of you. While everyone was still thinking, the man quickly took out a black scepter from his back, walked up to the 2 people who were unwilling to sign the agreement, and gently tapped them on the forehead. The expressions of the 2 people instantly became dull. Chapter 417 Black Industry Chain. The 2 men were tapped on the forehead by the man, and after the man said something in their ears, they walked out dully and mechanically. It is estimated that the memory has been cleared. I just don't know how many sequelae there are. Lin Ke left marks on the 2 people, just like the farmer who was taken away by the little supervisor before. These people, Lin Ke will not let them down. The man in a suit clapped his hands twice with satisfaction and said, I will now assign tasks to you. This time, we have to do inventions about plants. Inventions about plants. Some people didn't quite understand. Specifically, it is to use the things that Lord Mark discovered to cultivate plants, and cultivate with other things. The man in a suit smiled and said, for example, Plants and lightning are combined. Plants and flames are combined. Combined with flames, wouldn't it burn? Yes, the same goes for lightning. How to combine them? The few people who were called in whispered, but they didn't dare to speak loudly. But the man heard it and explained with a smile, "This requires your cooperation." The man began to talk about the tasks they were going to do. Simply put, they need to verify various conjectures in a field. Those conjectures do not come from Elson, but from other people. They implement those ideas one by one, and finally let Elson be the title. Excuse me, sir, did the Invention King Elson get the award in this way before? Lin Ke asked in a humble manner. When asked about this sensitive topic, the man was not worried, because he was bound by the divine power contract. So he said, not all, but most of it. Like this? Lin Ke's heart was already boiling with anger. However, in order to find out this black industrial chain, Lin Ke still needs to continue to play the role of a worker in it. He himself did not expect that the various systems of Dahuang City had just reached the startup and development stage, and there was such an industrial chain. This industrial chain that stifles people's creative motivation and inspiration must be abolished. The honorary titles of the Invention King, Model Worker, and Gladiator King every year are just honorary titles without any substantial rewards. At most, it just means that there is an opportunity to contact blood enlightenment and professionals. Honorary titles, professionals cannot participate. This is one of the channels of opportunity that Lin Ke gives to ordinary people. There are always some people who can't read books or study, but these people may have great talents and achievements in other places. Therefore, Lin Ke should give these talented people as many upward channels as possible, and give them a platform to display their talents. And this black industry chain is precisely cutting off the upward channels for some talented people. Of course, true geniuses will not be knocked down by numbers, but many people with middle and upper appearances will. Lin Ke could imagine how amazing he would be when he saw the so-called inventor King Elson. Fortunately, considering the employment situation in Dahuang City, he came to visit incognito and accidentally discovered this secret underground industry. Now, let's see who developed it and who is involved in it. Sir, how long can we get the money? Lin Ke asked carefully again, like a poor man who was afraid of not getting the money. This kind of concern is reasonable, so the man smiled and replied, you can get it every day. Of course, someone will supervise your work, so don't try to be lazy. It can be seen that the man is very kind to them. Lin Ke understood that this is because after signing the contract, the man regarded them as his own people. So, they were taken out by the man and finally came to the planting area. There was a small house on this farm, and someone was farming outside. This is one of the farming areas of Dahuang City. When several people came here, the man immediately went to find a person who was in charge and looked like a housekeeper, and then left. However, Lin Ke had never seen this housekeeper. The housekeeper looked at everyone with a stern face and said, just follow me. Whatever Master Elson asks you, don't answer randomly. Just wait for me to answer. As he said, he went forward and knocked on the door of the cabin. Who is it? I said don't disturb me. I need to find enough inspiration from books. The voice of an irritable young man came out. Master, I asked someone to find someone to help you with the work, to put your inspiration into practice. The housekeeper became amiable and gentle at this time. Pa. The door was opened, and a young man walked out. The young man's hair was messy, like a handful of dried willow branches, falling from his head one by one, and then tied with a straw rope, and fell behind his waist. He was thin, but his face was shiny, and his nails were long and black, full of black mud. However, his eyes were bright. The black pupils were piercing, like torches in the dark night. But at this time, the torches were full of impatience, but he still tried to calm down, and said to Lin Ke and others, thank you for helping me, you just need to help me implement my request. Yes. Lin Ke and others replied. Lin Ke also found that Elson didn't seem to know. But it was also true that when the awards were presented, there were many strong people, and it was easy for an ordinary person with a guilty conscience to be found out. This proved that Elson should have been deceived and concealed, and was used to make a profit. However, this butler must have something to do with the people from the city hall just now. It seems that judge is still needed. Lin Ke shook his head slowly and whispered to himself. What? Elson didn't hear clearly and asked in confusion. The butler also raised his eyebrows. Is he sick? We don't want people with head diseases. A fierce light flashed in the butler's eyes. If this was not the great desert city, Lin Ke would have been killed and his body thrown away. The other people who were recruited also looked over, wondering what this old man was doing. However, just when several people were wondering, Lin Ke's figure began to change. From an honest, slightly hunched farmer, he turned into a young and handsome nobleman of more than 1.8 meters. Seeing this scene, Elson and the butler were stunned. Especially the butler. He remembered Lin Ke's origin, that he was recruited from the city hall, so he was ruthless, and his fingernails suddenly became longer, flashing with a faint light. He pounced forward and aimed his fingernails at Lin Ke's throat. Don't you know who I am? However, Lin Ke's doubtful voice sounded, and the housekeeper immediately felt that his body was imprisoned by a powerful force. Your energy, the Dreadclaw Werewolf of the Far West. Please vote for the monthly ticket. Chapter 418, Big Rectification. Thunder Operation. You are. Elson's eyes widened, and his hands were shaking as he pointed at Lin Ke, but he couldn't speak for a while, as if he couldn't believe it. Duke of Lava. A farmer next to him called out Lin Ke's name. Duke of Lava, Lin Ke. Lord Link. Elson also ran over excitedly at this time. His face flushed, and he stood in front of Lin Ke at a loss, as if he had seen his idol. When Elson won the title of King of Invention, Lin Ke was in the phase of pleen, so it was not him who presented the award. However, Lin Ke knew that Elson should not know, so he nodded and smiled at him, and then looked at the butler with a cold expression. The butler heard the voices of the crowd at this time, and realized who he had offended this time, and then his face turned pale. Looking at the butler's expression, Lin Ke's doubts flashed across his eyes. If they came for him, such as the killer organizations in the far west countries, they should be very familiar with his appearance. But this butler only knew him after others said it. Elson also noticed that something was wrong with the butler, so he hurriedly said, Master Lin Ke, this is my butler, sent by my family, to help and protect me. He must have thought you were here to attack me, so tell me, the person behind you. Lin Ke waved his hand, interrupting Elson's words, and then said to the butler, if you tell me now, I may still spare your life. Master Lin Ke. Elson was immediately anxious, and was about to say something, but Lin Ke cast his eyes directly at him. Do you know what he did behind your back? This? Elson was stunned for a moment. You may even be an accomplice, so now, please keep quiet. Lin Ke retracted his gaze, and looked at the butler. So, which organization are you from? If you don't say it, well, I have a friend, a legendary soul manipulator. Legendary soul manipulator. The butler's pupils shrank, and he opened his mouth, but his body trembled involuntarily. Oh, you know about soul manipulator? Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. It seems that I'd better hand you over to Ruwen directly, so that you won't cheat. No, don't, I said. Hearing the name Ruwen, the butler suddenly burst into a wailing of fear, as if he had experienced something before. This made Lin Ke even more curious. I come from the shadow. The butler's eyes dimmed, and he was about to say something, but his face suddenly changed wildly, and he opened his mouth and shouted, save me. A very blurry shadow suddenly appeared outside his heart, like a small snake, and directly pierced into his body. Insolent. Lin Ke stretched forward with his right hand, and a layer of air pressure shield with huge heat attached appeared on the butler's chest. Combination skill. Thermodynamic shield. The shadow like a small snake was immediately blocked, and let out a scream. Lin Ke immediately wrapped the small snake with a thermodynamic shield, waved his hand, and the shield immediately brought the shadow snake over. The power of the shadow. Lin Ke frowned. The Shadow Organization, a killer organization in the Far West, is his enemy organization, just like the Forest Cabin. He had previously commissioned the Despair Pond, which is also a killer organization, and the Scholard Wilderness under his command, to deal with that organization. He didn't expect that someone would dare to do something under his nose. The housekeeper was relieved to see that his crisis was resolved, and then explained his origins very concisely. He came from the Shadow Organization, but he was not sent by Elson's family to protect Elson, but the Shadow Organization controlled that small family. In fact, this small family lived in the kingdom of Gida for many years in ignorance under the control of the Shadow, until Elson's talent and invention was revealed, and the Shadow began to use this family. When the housekeeper finished speaking, not only Lin Ke was surprised at the Shadow Organization's ability to arrange in advance, but even Elson was stunned. They are a barren family, and except for him, no one else wants to live here. But there is actually a behemoth like the Shadow Organization behind them. You know, the Shadow Organization has a legendary killer. Your family is not clean either. Lin Ke looked at Elson and told him everything from when he was preparing to find a job to just now. As Elson listened, his face became paler and paler. He took a few steps back and almost fell to the ground. No, impossible. Those are all my inspirations. Elson couldn't believe it. He even felt that this was more difficult to accept than the weakness and ignorance of his family. Master, that's the person we hired, and even the inspiration of the entire Shadow Organization. The butler sighed. It seemed that the butler and Elson also had feelings. The right and wrong will be found out by Da Huang. Lin Ke said to Elson, I'll give you a suggestion. Reading 10,000 books is not as good as traveling 10,000 miles. Lin Ke used the common language of Nassim. What he said meant that no matter how many books you read, it is better to go out and see more, and it is better to think in practice. If you don't know people's lives and needs, how do you know what you want to invent? Mark's invention Mark III is a great invention. Do you know why it is great? After saying this, Lin Ke stepped on a thin air pressure shield and flew towards the sky with his butler. His figure disappeared from everyone's eyes during the rise. He couldn't fly yet, but he could step on the air pressure shield he made and let it fly. Invention. Great. Elson fell to the ground, staring blankly at the fields not far away. As for the remaining farmers, they didn't know what to do now. They didn't know any conspiracy or shadow. They only knew that it seemed that what they did was not allowed by the Great Wasteland City, and they broke the law. And this high-paying job was gone. The top of the Great Wasteland Tower. Magnus. From now on, block the people from leaving the Great Wasteland City. No one is allowed to leave the city. Lin Ke sat on the lava throne on the top floor of the Great Wasteland Tower and tapped the ground lightly with his duke's scepter. The dragon soul of the magma dragon Magnus suddenly appeared in front of Lin Ke. Master Lin Ke, is this for everyone? Yes, if anyone asks, just say that the hostile forces of Dahuang City have entered the city. If it is really important and life-threatening, you can let him come to me. Lin Ke's face was serious. For most other things, a certain amount of compensation will be given. The closure period will not be too long. If handled properly, there is no need to make such a big fuss. It is estimated that it will only take an hour or two. Yes, sir. The dragon soul of Magnus nodded, then rushed to the bottom of the tower, and then notified several people at the entrance to the city. Then, ruin came. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419, Ruin's Warning. It's time to break through. It's true. Ruin looked at the butler twice and got the information he wanted. He licked his lips and said, this butler soul has loyalty, family affection and regret. Very delicious. Are you sure you don't want me to help you clean up the garbage? No. Lin Ke waved his hand. He is still useful. By the way, brother-in-law, can you help me identify the people in the whole city? I want to find those rats. Identify? Millions of people. Ruin's eyes twitched. I can help you suck the souls of the whole city in an instant. Okay. Lin Ke shook his head. What if it's only 10,000 people? I suspect there are spies among the people in the city hall. 10,000 people. Ruin touched his chin. Okay, but you have to compensate me. You know, I have been here for a long time. What compensation? As long as it is within my ability, I will. Lin Ke asked solemnly, but seeing Ruin staring at his lips tightly, he swallowed his saliva and changed his words. I will let someone other than me meet your requirements. TSK, boring. Ruin rolled his eyes, then thought for a while and said, how about this, you show me the profession of artist and help me make a few musical instruments. I remember you are good at making musical instruments, right? No problem. Lin Ke agreed immediately. I can tell you the professional ratio of artist now, but my artist and the artist of the kingdom of Giba may be very different. I know. Ruin said casually, the artists I have seen are boring, but yours is still exciting. He was casual, but it seemed that his eyes were wandering around Lin Ke again. Oh my god, LSP. I feel the feeling of a girl, and it is too scary to face LSP's eyes. Okay. Lin Ke didn't want to say more to Ruin. Although Ruin was very good to him, it might not be good for his, but if he got too close to Ruin, then let's go now. Ruin walked to the balcony outside, where he could go to the top of the Great Wilderness Tower. Halfway there, he suddenly turned back and said, in fact, anyone in the city can also do it, as long as you. No need. Lin Ke's heart was pounding. Ruin was already very handsome. If he didn't speak, it would be hard to tell his gender. He was like a tall and flat blonde beauty, but once he spoke, he would turn into a weird blonde handsome guy. Haha, your expression is so cute. Ruin laughed heartily, and then his figure disappeared. Lin Ke hurriedly chased him out, and came to the top of the tower. At this time, Ruin was already suspended in the air with his eyes closed. Strands of almost transparent silk thread stretched out from his fingers, and wrapped around the spire beside him. Give it to me. Lin Ke took out the shadow snake from before. The little snake was directly taken into Ruin's hand, and then, like sucking noodles, Ruin, who closed his eyes, sucked it in. Suddenly, he suddenly opened his eyes, his pupils dilated, his eyeballs turned completely black, and he uttered a few words. Malicious absorption. Legendary skill. The energy of a soul manipulator on Ruin's body fluctuated violently, and countless grey silk threads shot rapidly towards the entire Great Wasteland City with the Great Wasteland Tower as the center of the circle. Millions. Then, Ruin quickly landed, and took out a black whip from the space ring. The whip was pitch black, and exuded a mysterious aura. Lin Ke just looked at it, as if his soul was about to be sucked away, until he saw some unknown liquid on it. Lin Ke's eyebrows jumped wildly. Don't worry, it's the blood of an unknown creature. Ruin still had the leisure to explain to him at this time. I didn't ask you at all. Lin Ke's heart was shocked again. I know you didn't ask, but I still want to answer you. Ruin whistled. Are you spying on my thoughts? Lin Ke's eyes widened. Ruin looked at Lin Ke twice and said meaningfully, otherwise, how could you know? So many ways to play. Oh, you are quite good at playing, and the pain can also stimulate the pleasure? Hey, this posture is not bad. How come you have seen two men? Shut up. Lin Ke instantly raised 7 or 8 shields in front of his body, and used optical invisibility by the way. Haha, the wonderful fragrance of your soul, I can smell it even across a plane. Ruin smiled disdainfully. In the eyes of those who truly understand the soul, your invisibility skill is useless. Oh, by the way, if I want, I just need to take a light breath and you will become my delicious meal. Lin Ke's figure appeared again, his face not looking good. What? Did you notice your weakness? Ruin smiled. Then why don't you break through? Are you afraid that you will become an elemental body? I heard that you are very brave before. What about leading the charge? Wow. Leading the charge, so cool. Ruin also made a sign of raising a lance, and then smiled. When I was at level 13, I was learning soul defense with my brother. Otherwise he could even read from my memory that I peeped at him taking a bath and got hard. What did you see? Poisonous. Lin Ke only felt that his brother-in-law was a little scary, and then the Misty Princess was quite pitiful. And you? You haven't trained your soul ability yet, right? If such a delicious and sweet soul is discovered by those soul masters, they will probably enjoy a rare feast. Ruin said this while waving a long whip in the air, hitting something in the air again and again, making a crisp pa-pa sound. Can't I learn it now? Soul defense? Lin Ke asked doubtfully. The fact that Ruin had spoken out his thoughts just now actually made him a little scared. His mind was stolen without his knowledge. You can. Of course you can. The question is, do you have time? Ruwen looked deeply into Lin Ke's eyes and then said easily, I once planted 3 trees and took good care of them every day. I wanted to give them the best fertilizer and the best care, and then I wanted them to grow luxuriantly and bear sweet fruits. 3 trees? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. Ruwen glanced at him with a smile and continued, although my family is poor, other children can only have 1 tree. Only in very rare circumstances will some children be given 2 trees, and I have 3. I think that I'm young and strong, and I have a talent for planting trees. In fact, my talent for planting trees is top notch, maybe very top notch, perhaps like Andrew, standing outside the peak. But later I found that it is actually very difficult for me to make 3 trees grow together and are the same height at the same time. Because the 3 trees are of different varieties, I need to invest not only fertilizer and water in each tree, but also knowledge related to them. So, in the end, I plan to do this. First cultivate a tree, let it grow well, bear fruit first, and then cultivate the next one. Hearing this, Lin Ke narrowed his eyes and asked, why a tree? Or 3 trees? I'm just giving an example. It can be anything other than a tree. For example, mine is a river, a free river. Unfortunately, you can see the starting point and the end of my river, and a tree can only have a starting point and grow. There is no end. Chapter 420 Calling Followers. Cultivate a tree first. Lin Ke fell silent. Ruwen's words were already very clear. He may have accidentally or intentionally peeped into Lin Ke's soul space and saw Lin Ke's 3 bloodlines. At the same time, this also reminded Lin Ke. Ruwen did not respect his privacy, but privacy and the like are never considered by the strong. The strong only consider whether they want to or can. Ruwen has no ill intentions, but what if it is someone with malicious intentions? Moreover, he has never come into contact with the soul defense technique that Ruwen mentioned, so it is necessary to learn it. As for the last one, breakthrough, Lin Ke looked at his hands. In fact, he had wanted to break through in his heart a long time ago, but no matter what his reason said, his deep subconscious mind was still a little hesitant. His 3 bloodlines, knowledge, leadership, and luck. The corresponding 3 main professions, scientist, leader, inventor. The profession of inventor can only be stacked up by invention. He has invented many professions, systems, and items, and the corresponding feedback is also a lot, about the level of 10. Leader, needless to say, as long as he is in office for 1 day, there will be constant feedback from Dahuang City and Azan, and it has already reached the level of level 12. The key is the scientist profession. After integrating a series of professions that were either created or bought, such as scholar, truth researcher, stargazer, etc., this profession was formed. The highest level is also scientist. Moreover, the profession of scientist is very similar to scholar, but the proportion of professional characteristics is more inclined to exploration rather than inherited learning. Scientist is already level 14 and is on the verge of breaking through level 15. However, Lin Ke often hesitates. If he did not obtain the law body when he broke through, but obtained the element body, wouldn't that greatly weaken his potential? In this life, he wants to go to the peak. Like the sleepless emperor, like Andrew, or higher. Okay. At this time, Ruwen, who was waving a long whip next to him, stopped and took 2 breaths. It's really tiring. I really should charge you a little more a price. As he said, Ruwen walked over and stretched out his finger to the center of Lin Ke's eyebrows. A gray seed appeared between Lin Ke's eyebrows. Absorb it slowly, or you will be turned into an idiot. Ruwen said, flicking his whip lightly, wrapping himself, and then disappearing on the spot. There is a result. Lin Ke exhaled deeply, then concentrated his consciousness on his eyebrows, slowly probed into the gray seed. Suddenly, one figure after another appeared in front of him. People from the whole city. Really, people from the whole city. Lin Ke was amazed at Ruwen's strength, and felt the pressure on his shoulders heavier. The favors of legendary strongmen are not so easy to repay. Especially the favors that people don't want Lin Ke to repay. It is even more difficult to repay. But now Lin Ke can't help too much. For people at Ruwen's level, it is difficult for people who are not at the same level to help. Clean. Lin Lei. Do Wendy. Lin Ke checked the information Ruin gave him one by one. This information contains information about the whole city and also marks some red, white, and green dots. Red dots are obviously hostile to Lin Ke, white dots are suspicious, and green dots are not hostile. Fortunately, there are not many red dots, only a dozen, and the number of white dots is no more than 50. This made Lin Ke feel relieved. If it was in the previous life, there would be tens of thousands of people in a big city. Fortunately, he was not infiltrated in this life, so he began to check these people one by one. A dozen people, not too many, not too few. It still needs to be taken seriously. After watching for a while, Lin Ke's heart was completely relieved. Among these hostile people, there are only a few who want to destroy Dahuang City. There are a few others who are hostile because they admire Kanako and have a kind of hostility as a rival. And those suspicious people are more or less spies of others, people who are inquiring for information, etc. In general, the soft defense system and intelligence system of Dahuang City are not bad, with only some minor omissions. By the way, Ruin should be allowed to be the intelligence system. It's great to think about it. But when Lin Ke thought that the person standing behind him in the intelligence system was Ruin, his anus tightened. Forget it, it's not certain who will be happy. Lin Ke wrote down these people. There are 8 people in the city hall. Although they are not malicious, they are also doing some illegal things. It's time to rectify. Lin Ke paused with his lava staff. Magnus, worry about my followers in the Great Wasteland City. Call all the people in the city hall to the meeting room on the 8th floor immediately. Man at Dragon Soul Magnus appeared and answered respectfully, yes. Then he went to summon. Lin Ke leaned on the staff and thought for a while before walking down. Under the Great Wasteland Tower, Master Lin Ke is summoning us. Ms. Black Mountain was in a hurry, and Nix and his wife were beside her. I don't know what the reason is. Nix looked around, and there were some city hall staff on the way. None of these staff members cursed, even if some of them had endless work to do, but they knew that Lin Ke must have something important to summon them under such circumstances. In particular, they found that even the newly formed trading center had people coming. Very important things. So they were busy on their way, and they would nod when they met Nix and others. Look, that's the medical knight Nix, the originator of the profession doctor. He replaced the existence of the profession, witch doctor. Andrew's leg, the dreaded Lady of Black Mountain, the ruler of the Scarlet Wilderness, the one who guards the darkness for the Duke of Lava, the queen of the entire underground world of the Gila Kingdom. That's the queen of songs Sophie, goddess of finance. I like every song of hers. Lamel, Yale. Pedestrians exclaimed when they saw Lin Ke's followers. On weekdays, they don't see so many backbones of the Great Wilderness City. Lin Ke's followers, but they fought with Lin Ke in Phaser. In the past 3 years, many people's daily fun was to squeeze in front of the live broadcast of the photo stone and watch the content of the Noble Council. Everyone is here, let's go. John was standing at the bottom of the Great Wilderness Tower, wearing a gorgeous and solemn black suit, and was polite. At this time, everyone had arrived, a total of more than 50,000 people, crowded under the Great Wilderness Tower. They will be teleported directly from the Great Wilderness Square to the 8th floor meeting room, which can only be reached by Yale himself. Then, take out your ID cards and we will go to meet His Excellency the Duke of Lava. Chapter 421 Occupation Judge. The first vote of the Great Wilderness Council. More than 50,000 people teleported together, which was still very spectacular. Although a small space was embedded in the Great Wasteland Square, it was still very obvious that the crowd suddenly changed from shoulder to a few people standing in place. Many people saw this scene and knew that the Great Wasteland City might make a big move. Lava throne. Lin Ke sat on it, supporting his head with his right hand and stroking his lava scepter with his left hand. Below, there were rows and rows of seats. This is the meeting room of the Great Wasteland City, just like a large auditorium. This place is newly built. In the past, many large-scale meetings in the Great Wasteland City were held in the auditorium of the Wonderful Land. But we can't always go there, so we set up one here. This small space was created by Ruin, and it always has the effects of calmness, coolness, seriousness, etc. Just when Lin Ke was imagining something, one figure after another appeared in the seat. When everyone was together, Lin Ke also stood up and began to talk about things. The reason why I called you all here this time is because there is a traitor in the organization. The first sentence surprised everyone. There is a traitor in the organization? Exclamation mark. Lin Ke immediately told his previous experience and used his optical skills to construct the people he met at that time, including the previous small supervisor, the small leader in a suit and leather shoes, and so on. And these two people were sitting in the seats below. The two people sat not far away, and they all looked pale. This supervisor, who was bullying others, had a very bad attitude and hurt the farmer's expectations and feelings for Da Huang. That's fine, but in some urgent recruitment positions, he also used his power to intercept those positions and left them to his close people. This leader is also, can you really be a leader? What can you lead your subordinates to accomplish? Those people who are obviously suspicious did not report enjoying the benefits of Da Huang City, but doing things that are not good enough, colluding with the shadow organization. Lin Ke spoke indifferently, and the two people below collapsed in their seats. It's over. Everything is over. If they were like that at ordinary times, it would be fine, but they showed their true colors when Lin Ke was there. Everything is over. John, you can't escape responsibility for the people hired by the city hall. I can manage you. You can manage your subordinates, and your subordinates manage your subordinates. So, you should reflect on yourself. Lin Ke would not deny John's responsibility. After all, John was in charge of the city hall. Yes, sir. John pounded his chest with a serious face. I will clean up the city hall when I go back. Yeah. Lin Ke nodded slightly and then looked at a woman. Diana, I have a career in position. Are you interested in accepting it? Diana. This is the female clerk who has been helping Lin Ke do a lot of things. Lin Ke has investigated and found that she is very serious and careful in doing things, and her background is also clean, which is very suitable for his plan. Diana, who was sitting in her seat and looked down on the small supervisor and the small leader, heard Lin Ke's voice and immediately stood up. Sir, I will obey the arrangement. Okay. Lin Ke's eyes showed appreciation. In 2 days, I will invent a profession called judge. The first chief judge of Da Huang City will be you. Yes. Diana answered immediately, with excitement in her eyes. The first chief judge. Diana knew that this was Lin Ke's recognition of her ability, loyalty, and other aspects. I'm one step closer to Lord Lin Ke. Diana felt sweet in her heart, but she sat down with a normal look on her face, looking very capable. Sir, what is a chief judge? At this time, Ms. Ishan asked softly, and her voice echoed throughout the venue. A judge is intended to rule and judge whether a person's behavior is illegal, based on the laws. Da Huang City needs all kinds of laws to restrain people's behavior and allow people to live a better life. Lin Ke slowly explained the meaning of the law. In fact, Da Huang City also had laws before, but the actual significance of the law was not highlighted, and many laws were a bit scattered and unsystematic. Now, Lin Ke needs Diana to build a comprehensive legal system for Da Huang City to regulate behavior, especially the behavior of officials. In addition, the supervision system will be officially implemented from tomorrow. Lin Ke's expression was cold. Everyone's heart tightened. The supervision system, Lin Ke mentioned it before. For example, the supervision department, the accounting department, and the investigation department. The supervision department supervises officials to see if there is corruption, embezzlement, bribery, etc. The accounting department audits companies, businesses, funds, etc., including officials but not limited to officials. The investigation department combines criminal, civil, and military affairs. The establishment of the 3 departments requires an opportunity, otherwise people will feel unsafe and constrained by being monitored. And this is the right time to propose it. Now, raise your hands and vote. Da Huang City is not my Da Huang City, it is the Da Huang City of each of you. After Lin Ke said this, he turned around and disappeared from the spot and went outside. After he left, John stood up and stomped his feet hard. The seats in the entire conference room suddenly began to change, and they surrounded one row after another to form several circles. Now, the Da Huang Council begins voting. John stood in the middle and looked around. Please follow your heart, put aside interests and desires, use your rationality and reason on this vote, and fulfill your sacred duties and mission. John spoke in an aria, full of solemnity. Everyone's expression suddenly froze. This is the first time. The first vote. Everyone has the right to vote. This is them being the masters of their own house, voting for the construction of the Great Wasteland City. As for you, get out. John looked at the small supervisor and the small leader, and waved his hand. The two disappeared in the conference room in a panic, and were expelled from the Great Wasteland Tower. They may face imprisonment in the future. Everyone, in half an hour, the voting will begin. Secret ballot, whether you are in favor or against, if you can also write down your own ideas. John pointed to the table of the crowd, and a piece of vase and paper appeared on it, and there was also a feather pen. If you don't want to write, you can also tick, or draw a cross. Half an hour, please, think about it carefully. Everyone's heart became heavier again. No, it was more sacred. Is this the parliament? This is the parliament. It's not a fake like the Everfrozen court in the north, but the entire Great Wasteland City, from the grassroots staff who go deep into all aspects of the Great Wasteland City to Lin Ke's followers, all have the opportunity to vote, and the opportunity is equal. This is not my birthright. This is the right that Duke Lin Ke gave me, and fought for me among the nobles. A street office worker muttered to himself, which resonated with several people around him. Such a right is extremely sacred. Chapter 422, Fairness, Equality and Justice. Half an hour went by quickly. Everyone wrote their votes. Most people just ticked or crossed out their votes. Of course, there were hardly any people who crossed out their votes. The few who did so wrote down their reasons. Those who wrote down their reasons were the ones who crossed out their votes. For example, John saw that Lalita was one of the people who crossed out their votes. As a follower of Lin Ke, Lalita actually crossed out her vote. But John felt relieved when he thought that Lalita's loyalty to Lin Ke was no less than his. Maybe there was a reason. John thought. Then he stretched out his hand and a force brought the as and papers to his hands. There were more than 50,000 in total, all of which were collected by him into his space ring. At the same time, he also memorized the data of ticks and crosses. When the last one was collected, John said solemnly, a total of 56,155 votes. 56,150 votes agreed to the proposal, and 5 votes disagreed. It was almost unanimously passed. Almost unanimously? Someone disagreed with Lord Lin Ke's proposal? There were still 5 people who disagreed. Are they idiots? However, at this moment, Lin Ke's figure reappeared on the scene. 56,150 agree, 5 disagree. Lin Ke spoke slowly, then shook his head. Some staff members below immediately thought that Lin Ke was disappointed. Disappointed because 5 people did not agree. After all, they are all staff members, all members of the Great Wasteland City, and some people disagree. 5 disagreeing opinions. Let me take a careful look first. Lin Ke shook his head, no more words, took the 5 pieces of paper handed over by John, and looked at them carefully. Everyone waited anxiously for Lin Ke to read, wondering if Lin Ke would be furious. He tried his best to develop the Great Wasteland City, but 5 people in his team opposed his proposal. Everyone would be disappointed. Everyone felt sorry for Lin Ke standing above. You know, many people below can be feline grandmothers, but they can only help Lin Ke a little. Lin Ke is just a child in his 20s. At this time, Lin Ke's expression began to change. It was a smile. However, in the eyes of everyone, Lin Ke was clearly smiling in disappointment and mockingly. Lin Ke sneered. What everyone didn't expect was that after Lin Ke finished reading the 5 voting opinions, he smiled with satisfaction. No matter how much the staff imagined, they couldn't change Lin Ke's happy mood and happy smile at this time. But, very good. Lin Ke folded up the 5 opposing voting opinions and put them away. These are very precious manuscripts. I will collect these 5 manuscripts and put them in this conference room for everyone to see. Precious manuscripts! Exclamation mark. I have to collect them and put them in the conference room for everyone to see. Everyone was stunned, and only a few people were thinking. I'm very pleased that at least 5 people dared to vote against it for their own interests and for the interests of the people, at the risk of angering me. Lin Ke spoke slowly, and everyone understood as soon as he said this. Lord Lin Ke, in fact, is not angry. Of course, maybe those who voted in favor also have their own considerations, but I think that most people are actually considering one thing, that is, the first vote in favor will not anger me. Lin Ke smiled. Everyone, if I want to have a one-man show, then why do I organize the Great Wilderness Council? Why do I need to let everyone vote? To agree or oppose? Yes. These people thought about it and immediately understood what Lin Ke meant. If Lin Ke insisted on implementing a certain policy, why bother to tell them and vote in vain? Obviously, Lin Ke wanted to see their opinions. However, most of them chose to follow blindly. This is the first time. I don't blame you. Lin Ke smiled. Of course, these 5 people who voted against, I'm glad that you have courage. Courage is the fundamental reliance of our human race. Please continue to maintain your courage. As he said, Lin Ke took the lead in applauding, and then the venue broke out into fierce applause. Next, I will explain to you why I need your opinions. Lin Ke began to tell the story. When a person sits in a different position, his thinking will be different. The butt determines the head. No matter how wise, intelligent, and powerful he is, there are always things he cannot understand or experience. Standing high, it is easy to miss the shouts from the foot of the mountain. He needs to listen to the voices from all walks of life and all classes to make the most reasonable decision. Just like FASA, you know that I also established FASA's system and the FASA Fanai party. I believe they will develop rapidly under this system. Lin Ke continued to speak. And we are actually behind them in the system, so I hope that the next proposal will be better for your class. The Ministry of Agriculture will speak for the farmers, and the Ministry of Commerce will speak for the businessmen. I don't pursue absolute equality, but I think our wilderness needs equality, fairness and justice, and everyone is treated equally under the law. As for what is fairness, equality, and justice? Fairness is. Today, Lin Ke talked a lot. Some of it came from his inspiration from his incognito visit and some from the sense of crisis of unreasonable systems. He implemented many systems here, but there were actually various pressures and constraints. It was better to be in FASA, where even the strongest sky god could only bow down to him. However, with the endorsement of Andrew and Emperor Wumi in before, he now has more confidence. Reform. Reform more thoroughly. After Lin Ke finished speaking, everyone felt as if they had suddenly realized something and understood Lin Ke's intention. As for the right to vote, in the future, it will not only be drawn from you, but also from more people. Then, let's end today's meeting here. John, bring Diana to the top floor. After speaking, Lin Ke gently hammered his chest at everyone and then disappeared on the stage. The applause from the audience lasted for a long time. When he came to the top, Lin Ke couldn't help but think of FASA. I haven't been back for a long time. I'll go and see it when I have time. Lin Ke thought of FASA's various inventions and creations, which can actually provide help to the Great Wilderness. Lin Ke has been too busy to do anything, but he is going to go back in the next 2 days. The reason why he didn't go back before was because as a legendary figure in FASA, it was not good to go back often. While thinking, John had brought Diana to the top floor. Master, Diana is here. Privately, John still liked to call him Master. Of course, Lin Ke had no requirements for these, just let them get used to it. He looked at Diana. What do you think of what happened today? Chapter 423 Skill and Career Creation. Lord Lin Ke, I think it is imperative to promote the law. Diana's eyes were firm. Tell me. Lin Ke motioned Diana to continue. Pointing to the seat over there, sit down and talk. John waved his hand, and there was one more seat that originally belonged to Lin Ke's followers, and the word judge appeared on the chair. Seeing this, Diana's heart was not calm, and she even showed some hesitation. What's wrong? Don't you want to be my follower? Lin Ke's voice came from above. Diana looked up and saw Lin Ke looking at her with a smile. No, I do. Somehow, Diana remembered the wedding a few days ago, so she quickly changed her words. What I mean is that I will defend your glory to the death, until the stars fall, the world collapses, the rules are destroyed, and until death. Okay. Lin Ke nodded slightly. I hope you can do your duty as a judge. You continue to talk. Yes. Diana nodded and began to continue to talk about her views on the rule of law. As she spoke, she kept thinking about everything she had with Lin Ke, but she knew that it would be fruitless to talk to Lin Ke, so she suppressed it. So, after careful consideration, I agree with this proposal. Diana finished speaking and quietly waited for Lin Ke's evaluation. Well, not bad. Lin Ke slowly stroked the lava scepter, thinking about Diana's words. Some of the things you said, including those opinions just now, have inspired me. Perhaps, in addition to judges, we do need lawyers who understand the law. As he spoke, Lin Ke stood up. I have written down the professional ratio of judges. Lin Ke came to Diana and handed her the paper with the professional ratio of judges. The professional ratio of lawyers. Well, wait a moment. Lin Ke casually pulled a chair to sit down, took out a piece of paper, and then took out his furry dark blue magic pen. The characteristics of fairness, justice, and judgment of judges, lawyers, should be inventor skill, professional creation. Lin Ke rarely used this skill. It consumed too much energy, and it occupied 3 of his skill positions. But the effect is surprisingly good. The energy in Lin Ke's body boiled up, and it continued to flow into the inventor in the lucky bloodline, and then converted from the leaves of the professional creation skill. His eyes emitted a faint blue light, and he said to himself, well, maybe equality is wrong, and lawyers should be responsible for their employers. In his previous life, a man named Zhangson said that one of the duties of a lawyer is to do his best to defend his employer. Because in many cases, even if outsiders think that the employer has done all kinds of evil things, there may be other reasons. Why do lawyers defend bad people? Before the conviction, almost everyone points the finger at the suspect, so the suspect is miserable. At this time, he is helpless and desperate. However, if he is innocent, only lawyers can defend him at this time. Therefore, the lawyer's defense is not to defend bad people, but to defend the law. The law cannot be bound by morality. Lawyers defend the human of bad people, not the bad of bad people. Well, fairness, justice, and the rule of law. Lin Ke wrote on the paper while thinking quickly. In just half an hour, he had written down the professional characteristics and proportions of lawyer. After writing this profession, Lin Ke closed his eyes and quietly felt the feedback. But the feedback was not too much, not too little. It was feedback on the inventor profession, and the original bottleneck was raised from level 18 to level 19, which was not bad. Go down and find the right person, and choose the right location, build a court, and open a law firm. Lin Ke felt that the consumption was quite large, so he handed the just written professional proportion to Diana, and then closed his eyes, and meditated in his seat to replenish the consumption. Let's go, Diana. John smiled and said to Diana, we have prepared a welcome ceremony for you. Welcome ceremony? Diana had just taken the professional proportion, and was thinking about its meaning. Hearing this, she hesitated and said, but I want to go back and think about it carefully. Perhaps the other followers of the young master can help you. John smiled. The welcome ceremony was something Yale thought of before. Yale felt that the welcome ceremony could bring them closer to each other and help each other. In the past, when Lin Ke was still young, the followers were close and could talk about anything. But as they grew older, they each had their own responsibilities and had fewer opportunities to communicate with each other. As a relatively young member, Yale's proposal was supported by all professionals. Okay then. Diana nodded. In addition to Lin Ke, she also admired several followers. After all, Lin Ke's followers are now hard figures. They are talented, hardworking, strong, and most importantly, loyal. Let's go. John gestured and led Diana away. Only Lin Ke was left to recover his magic power. However, this recovery was not ordinary. Lin Ke held the magical fragment and rotten wood in his hand. Just after capturing the magic element, he felt a restlessness in knowledge. Is this a sign of a breakthrough? No, wait a little longer. Lin Ke thought of something and suppressed the excitement in his heart. Elemental body and law body. It is still very important. The road to the peak, one careless move, will lead to a complete loss. In his previous life, a wise man told him that, if he was not 98% sure, he should not act rashly, even though the environment here is different from before. After all, courage and fearlessness are more valued here. Originally, Lin Ke also felt that what Emperor Wumian and Ruan said made sense. However, when he was about to break through, he always felt something was wrong. And every time he gave up the breakthrough, his lucky blood would always flicker slightly. This proved that now was indeed not his chance to break through. Maybe, go ask teacher Andrew. Lin Ke put away the rotten wood block, and then took out an ancient stone flake. At the beginning, Andrew said that he would crush the stone flake when he was done. Now, his work is almost done. Dahong City just needs to move forward according to his previous arrangements. Now, perhaps Lin Ke needs to ask Andrew, the most knowledgeable person in Nassim. Maybe Andrew can answer his doubts. Magnus, I will go to find teacher Andrew. You go and inform everyone that everything will be normal. Lin Ke paused the lava scepter, and then the magma dragon Magnus appeared and agreed. Lin Ke crushed the ancient stone flakes. In a dizzy state, Lin Ke opened his eyes. Chapter 424, Empiricism and Dogmatism. Fearless Tower. This is indeed the Fearless Tower. Lin Ke looked at everything around him, and it was similar to when he came here, when he was 6 years old. Last time, he appeared in this room, and it was the same this time. It was just that he was only 6 years old last time, and it was the first time he felt the feeling of all his internal organs being dislocated, so he screamed non-stop, and was very embarrassed. But this time, he just stood up gently. The people around him were doing various experiments. He didn't feel it before, but now he can feel the fluctuations of various magic and laws. If you have to compare, Nassim is like his previous life, ordinary, without waves, gently sticking to the skin. If you feel it carefully, you can feel the traces of magic and laws. The stars in the sky are like someone is releasing magic forbidden spells next to him at any time, or putting magic forbidden spells into his body. Lin Ke's feeling is, woo, I'm going to be broken. Oh, and the Fearless Tower is fully expanded for Lin Ke. If he is regarded as a container, the mouth of his bottle is slowly expanded by the magic element, and then the magic is poured into it, making him feel like he doesn't need to meditate. It's worthy of being the Fearless Tower. After Lin Ke stood up, some people who were engaged in the experiment reacted. Hey, are you the one who came last time? A female lizardman with big eyes showed curiosity. Black and white people. Slaves. Permafrost people. Hello, I'm black and white. Lin Ke nodded slightly. Black and white people and permafrost people are the humans of the Kingdom of Gila and the Permafrost Council. In the Holy Life Alliance, humans are just slaves, so they are called slaves. Oh, do you have anything new recently? The female lizardman said, attracting everyone around. Tiger people, pig people, mondo giant beasts, elf ground grass. One by one, the intelligent life forms doing various things cast their eyes over. In the Fearless Tower, it is easy to get in, but difficult to get out. Although they got a great opportunity to enter the Fearless Tower, they were also imprisoned here. Unless there is a legendary existence that can break the space, they can't get out. Of course, if possible, Andrew can also send the person out, if this person has such great power. Something new? Lin Ke was stunned, and then remembered the closed environment of the Fearless Tower, and then took out the basic newspaper from the space ring. The eyes of these people were immediately attracted. What is this? This seems to be a book made by the Gula people. I have seen it in the laboratory of the black and white people on a certain floor. Well, but why don't I feel the wailing of animal souls? This is made of plants. Hey, interesting. It adds the knot tree and lucky flower. These people gathered around and pointed at the newspaper in Lin Ke's hand. Even the Elfland cursive opened his mouth and licked it, and then distinguished the ingredients in the book. This is for reading, but the content is not quite the same. Lin Ke handed it to the lizard man and touched her head. You can read it slowly. After that, he left. This lizard man looks like a little girl, and the eyes are very pure, so Lin Ke has a good impression of her. The big-eyed lizardman suddenly widened his already big eyes and felt that Lin Ke's action of touching her head just now was the first time in her 35,627 years. It felt good. Then the next moment, she heard the pig man next to her exclaim, "HMM. What is this?" She looked down and immediately saw a big headline, which read, "Wedding of the Century. Witnessed by the God of Love." Below were 5 words in the common language of Nasang, Dahong Entertainment News. So, several newspapers were quickly divided and eaten up, and everyone held a newspaper to read. The experiment that was originally very interesting in their eyes was thrown aside, and they were too lazy to touch it again. Lin Ke left the room. Now he roughly understood that the transmission of each area of the Fearless Tower has a pattern. Because he just saw a string of Nasang numbers in the experimental room. It is probably similar to the area, block, longitude, and latitude range. The corresponding area he was teleported to in Dahong and Dazan was this laboratory. Opening the door, Lin Ke came to an elevator with ease. This time, there was no cat man to guide him, but his memory of when he was 6 years old was also very clear at this time. Using the power of the spirit of the weapon, or the power of the tower spirit, Lin Ke stepped onto the magic ladder, and then his body began to move up quickly. After a while, he arrived at the top floor. Room 0. Lin Ke went forward, and knocked on the door. Knock, knock. Lin Ke is here? Coming quickly. Andrew's voice came out, with a sense of irritability, just like the first time Lin Ke met Andrew. An irritable old man. The door was not locked. Lin Ke pushed it open and entered the room. That was exactly the same as the one he had been in 10 years ago. Andrew was sitting at the table with nothing between his legs, and in the air in front of him, 3 balls of light like fine sand were floating. Star level divinity? Come and watch. Andrew didn't have so many greetings, concern, etc., and was very direct. Lin Ke walked over immediately and stared at the 3-star level divinities. Look, this is the star level divinity, the crystallization of the path of the gods. Andrew pointed to 3, noble heritage divinity, war and peace divinity, luck divinity. 3 divinities. In the air, the 3 divinities slowly floated under Andrew's will. I can't find knowledge, leadership, and luck, so I can only try with these 3 similar divinities. Andrew explained. Lin Ke was silent. Ruin could know his bloodline, so it was reasonable for Andrew to know it. Yes, very reasonable. As if sensing Lin Ke's emotions, Andrew glanced at him. You kid, why have you been so wary since childhood? Lin Ke scratched his head and said nothing. But what Andrew did at this time was obviously related to him. Don't listen to the words of those idiots Wumian and Ruin. Don't rush to breakthrough. Who knew that Andrew's next sentence would scare Lin Ke? It's not that Wumian and Ruin are idiots. I guess there are not many who are not idiots in Andrew's eyes. But, don't rush to breakthrough. You are very good and cautious, unlike those 2 reckless men. Andrew shook his head slowly. As a scholar, how can you decide to explore the world based on what others say? Scholars' exploration has always been based on practice and demonstration. Andrew's words shocked Lin Ke. Exploration. Verification. To know this, you must practice it yourself. Seek truth from facts. That's right. As a scholar, Lin Ke actually listened to other people's ideas on such an important breakthrough. And there were only 2 people. Don't follow the superiors, don't follow the books, only follow the facts. Even if it is Emperor Wumian, even if it is Ruin, their experience cannot be used directly. It is easy to fall into empiricism and dogmatism. Following Emperor Wumian's path, perhaps the highest achievement will be Emperor Wumian's achievement, and it is not certain. The same is true for Ruin. Only by following your own path and fully stimulating your own potential can you walk your own path. I understand. Chapter 425 The Secret of the 3 Bloodlines. Thank you, teacher. Lin Ke has realized it. Emperor Wumian and Ruin, their paths, whether they are correct or not, are their paths. Lin Ke's path is different from theirs. The difference lies in the essence of personality. Lin Ke is an earthling, while Emperor Wumian and Ruin are Nassangers. The difference lies in the soul, thinking, memory, worldview, outlook on life, and values that extend from the personality. There are also thoughts, culture, and concepts. Lin Ke, does he really need to rely on courage, to break through the shackles directly and then leave the elemental body or the law body to God to arrange? No, it's not. Scholars need to explore and then understand, rather than try their luck like a shaman. After fully understanding and having achieved the ultimate, it is time to try your luck. The so-called doing one's best and leaving the rest to fate. In fact, what those two idiots said is not entirely wrong. Andrew continued to speak at this time, but you have to know that they all have single bloodlines. Double bloodlines are extremely rare, and triple bloodlines. Andrew raised his head and looked at Lin Ke very seriously. Only you. 3 bloodlines. Only me? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. Andrew's eyes flickered. The probability of having 2 bloodlines is extremely rare. Over the years, I have only encountered 5 in the universe, and this is the result of my full efforts. This is one of the fundamental rules of the universe, and it is difficult to change. A person with 2 bloodlines is equivalent to having 2 brains, 2 souls, and 2 true spirits. This result will be destroyed as soon as the soul is born, which is equivalent to positive and negative particles. In other words, it is equivalent to the coexistence of light and darkness, and they do not allow each other to exist until one side is annihilated or both are annihilated. Andrew scratched the beard on his chin. He did not look like a respected sage, but rather a short version of a wretched old grandfather at the entrance of the village. But your soul, has 3. Andrew pointed at Lin Ke's nose and said unhappily, if I hadn't helped you cover it up before, you wouldn't have survived the first day with the curse of the King of Gods, Zernita. However, before you were enlightened, a certain trait of Zernita was integrated into your body. Andrew touched his beard and stared at Lin Ke, which made Lin Ke's soul have goosebumps. A trait? Lin Ke thought of the thing that was integrated into Lin Ke as a reward by the system. That thing is a certain professional trait of the King of Gods, Zernita? Yes, but it's better to call it a priesthood. Andrew nodded. Your bloodline, leader comes from your father. If the calculation is correct, you can also choose Zernita's professional trait and your mother's professional trait. Immortality, a trait from the King of Gods, Zernita, and emotion comes from his mother. In addition, there are strength, luck and knowledge. But, I don't know where your knowledge and luck come from. Andrew stared at Lin Ke, an inexplicable light flashing in his eyes, which made Lin Ke's scalp tingle. From Marshal Azine to you, no one has ever enlightened these 2 bloodlines. The same goes for Feudal. He looked at Lin Ke quietly, and Lin Ke looked thoughtful. After a long while, he said, Teacher, do you want to hear what you are saying? Teacher Andrew, please don't destroy my father's family happiness. Andrew snorted coldly, retracted his gaze, looked quietly at the 3 rays of star level laws in front of him, and continued, but, you kid us of some of the glory of the ancient nobles of the Black and White Kingdom. I'm too lazy to ask more, otherwise. Madam Gardner and Riven learned the technology of making soul crafts from me. In short, I have never heard of, or seen these 3 bloodlines of yours. Everything has to be started over again and re-experimented. They only have 1 bloodline, and they can have a law body if they break through rashly, but this is not the case with 2 bloodlines, not to mention that you have 3. Andrew's words are thought-provoking. This also made Lin Ke realize that in many cases, his identity was more like a lord than a scholar. Come, let's take a look. Andrew looked at the 3 rays of starlight level divinity in front of him, stretched out his hand and gently tapped. Suddenly, the 3 rays of divinity began to close in the middle. When the 2 bloodlines break through, they will affect and absorb each other, so you need a lot of magic power, and you also need to have enough understanding of the laws represented by the 2 bloodlines. As he said, the 3 rays of divinity were close together, entangled with each other, and affected each other. In this process, Andrew was still the same, as if he was just an observer. But Lin Ke knew that Andrew was already influencing the 3 rays of divinity. Let's see what happens if the 3 rays of starlight are upgraded. Andrew stretched out his hand again. Suddenly, a huge amount of magic element rushed into the 3 rays of divinity, and a feedback descended into the fearless tower, and then was dispersed by Andrew's wave of his hand. Lin Ke's young mind was immediately shocked. Hit, dispersed. Oh my god. Is that the feedback of becoming a god? Exclamation mark. These 3-star level divinities were manipulated by Andrew to transform into godhood, and then they were broken up by him? However, before Lin Ke could get confused, the 3-star level divinities changed again. The 3 divinities entangled with each other, then expanded rapidly, and tried to be compatible. However, because Andrew intercepted the feedback of becoming a god, the 3 divinities began to penetrate each other, like 3 worms, sucking each other's body fluids, and the 3 divinities formed a cycle. But the laws of each other were different, and finally the 3 laws had a serious rejection reaction during the sucking, and then expanded rapidly, and finally, boo, the explosion, that could have blown up a small space, under Andrew's control, burst like a bubble. Lin Ke looked at the scene in front of him and was stunned, just gone. 3 bloodlines may cause the phenomenon of mutual annihilation. Andrew narrowed his eyes. This annihilation phenomenon. Well, let me take a look. As he said, Andrew stretched his right hand forward, and his palm sank directly into the void. Damn it, who is it? No, please. Lin Ke vaguely heard waves of noisy and painful wails, as well as the prayers of all intelligent life in a certain world. Then, he saw Andrew retract his right hand, and there was an extra divine power in his hand. Oh, that's the starlight of a small plane, the strongest in the plane, I think. Andrew saw Lin Ke's eyes and explained. Then he repeated this twice, and there were 3 more divine powers in his hand. Now, let's try again. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.